Does it bother anyone else that the countdown to the Tropicana implosion doesn't actually count down in real seconds? They just had their own fucking time.
I didn't want to say it live, but it bothers me to no end.
Every single time. Well, it's their fault. Like, our timer is right. Theirs was wrong. But it does end at the same time.
It makes me think that it's a union thing. You know, they got the clockmakers union. They're all pissed off because it's some dispute. The Italians got involved.
It's temporal inflation. Their seconds are bigger than our seconds.
No, I've got the biggest seconds, sir.
You've got the biggest. That's why your BMI is going up.
Huge.
Because you have. I get the biggest. I have the largest plates.
I get the biggest slice of pie at Thanksgiving. They say, "Wow, what a big slice of pie."
I've never seen such a big slice. It's a full 360-degree circle.
I bring my own pie.
359 degrees. It's only got the width of a knife cut out of it.
Anywho, we're back. We are back after a lovely holiday. Cap,
yes.
How was your Thanksgiving?
It was fantastic. I had a lot to be thankful for, actually.
As do I. Yeah, some real life stuff going on. That's super exciting for the Hudson family.
That's great.
Yeah.
You want to share that with the chat, or is this we're gonna keep that under the hat for a while?
We will keep that under the hat for just a little bit.
Cool. It'll make it all the sweeter when the public learns.
Yes, that I bought my own Ryder truck.
He bought his own. You
will learn. Aftermarket.
I guarantee you will find out when Hudson rides. Before we get started, I do want to do a soupçon of shilling.
Just the most tasteful shilling.
The most tasteful shilling. I want everyone to Hudson, could you put in the chat?
No, I can't.
Oh, you can't?
No, I'm not in the chat.
How can you not can't? How can you can't?
Because I'm not in the chat. I
understand. That doesn't make any sense.
Oh, like a link to...
Yeah.
I can put it in our private chat.
Okay, well, put it in the private chat, and I will link it. But I encourage all of you, after the show is over, to go over to and buy tickets to Last Picture Show Film Festival. And I think that I finally got the name right.
Yeah, no, that's important to get the name right.
I have fucked it up several times, and it's important that I get it correct because I am one of the folks who gave my opinion on the on that particular event this year. I covered Terry Gilliam's The Adventures of Baron Munchausen.
Yes, and I covered...
Here is the link to Last Things Post.
Yeah, can you pin that?
It is in the chat, and I will pin that. So go
friend of the show, Last Things. Great guy, smart dude. He did this. He
does this wonderful thing, and for a mere $15. You can get over 40 hours of wonderful
premium content.
Yeah.
So you'll get 39 hours and then whatever Cap does.
Nice. Yes. But The Adventures of Baron Munchausen, no one ever talks about it.
Yeah, and then I did The Natural, the baseball film. Just very on brand for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a classic.
There other wonderful people who were in this. Oron McIntyre did Memento. Red Hawk did Walk the Line.
That's going to be a good one.
Jay Burden did The Purge.
Yes. Well, no, The Purge election year. He
the third one.
He picked a very specific one.
And of course, our very own David Harrod of Tookie's Mag did The Duelists, which is also very kino.
Yes, and then Prudentialist did one too.
Yes,
we're not allowed to talk about.
Yeah,
where else we'll get flagged?
Fatherland. It's the Fatherland. Yeah. So go check that out after the show, and you'll have your listening.
Leaves, I'm monitoring who's watching. So if I see any numbers dip,
we're gonna find you. We're gonna find you, and we're
gonna park a truck in front of your house.
We're gonna treat you to some United Healthcare grievance process. All right. So
now that that's out of the way.
Now that is out of the way.
No, Gabe, you did not miss any Timmy's mom.
Oh yeah, Gabe didn't do one this year.
Thank God.
Because he did the Satyricon last year, and it was too horny for words.
Yeah, it's a real snoozer.
He was not invited back. He was no. He just slept on it. Much like our very own Geo at home is bad at answering his DMs, just like the real Canadian brand of Geo. So.
Value Mart Geo did not answer his emails.
Maybe 2025 will be the year when the full Tookies Mag crew gets into the Last Picture Show Film Festival, and we are fully 1/10 of the content. That would be a tragedy for Last Things. Anyway,
total Tookie victory.
Ryan Gosling Anon with. Starting with bangers in the chat. Have we considered the possibility that there was no Ryder truck and the Murrah building just did that?
Well, I believe that they did investigate. And I know you say that tongue in cheek, Ryan Gosling Anon, but there was this really famous forensic explosives expert that looked at the explosion at the Murrah building and was like, oh yeah, no, there's no way a truck could have done that.
Yeah, no, it totally Tower 7'd itself. And they were like, what do you mean Tower 7'd itself? And he's like, you'll get it in a few years.
Don't worry.
You'll understand.
You kids aren't ready for that yet.
I've seen this one before. Anyways, that guy. Anyway, all right. So, this time we are starting on the Highway to Hell, the Basra Highway Massacre, one of my particular favorite war crimes committed in the latter half of the 20th century. First half of the 20th century had much stiffer competition, to be clear. But this one is the only war crime to have included the A-10 Thunderbolt, which used to be called the Warthog, and then everyone started calling it the Thunderbolt to avoid getting everyone confused with the Jeep from Halo.
I still call it the Warthog. I say Warthog.
All right. The path to hell is paved. Basra Highway. The word of God, much bandied by George Bush, whose word illuminated midnight sky and confused the Baghdad cock, who was betrayed by bombs into believing day was dawning and crowed his heart out at the deadly raid and didn't live to greet the proper morning. Now, with noonday headlights in Kuwait and the brutal of the blackened in Baghdad, let them remember all who celebrate that their good news is someone else's bad, or the light will never dawn on poor mankind. Tony Harrison, A Cold Coming, Gulf War Poems, 1991.
Super gay.
You've never had a cold coming?
No.
It's hot only.
Super hot. I'm a
super hot only.
No, but that poem's really gay, and Tony Harrison, not a fan. And also, you missaid burial.
Where did I? Oh, did I? What did I say?
You said brutal.
Oh yeah, I did. Sorry. Anyway, my bad. So, lukewarm coming. Yes, Woodpit.
I feel like that could be a country music singer.
Lukewarm coming. Yeah. Who's that guy who did I Want to Check You for Ticks?
I actually have no idea.
That was. You don't know anything about pop country?
No, I'm not J.L. Mackey.
Good old Tom Edge, man. All right. The turkey shoot was not yet over. McVeigh said that after destroying the Iraqi bunkers and trenches, his division received orders to head north as quickly as possible to an airfield in the city of Safwan, Iraq. Thus, throughout February 2nd and 26th, 1991, or 25th and 26th, 1991, The third and fourth days of the ground war, they pushed forward balls to the wall day and night toward Safwan. As they headed toward Safwan, they encountered a massive sandstorm, a world-class biblical thunderstorm, and crossed paths with the Iraqi Republican Guard, whom they engaged in 2 famed battles. Commentators described the second, the Battle of Norfolk, which occurred in the Saudi village of Kafji. Why the fuck is it called the Battle of Norfolk?
It was there like a USS Norfolk in the area or something? It was some Arab name we couldn't pronounce, so we just called it the Battle of Norfolk.
Yeah. It was because it was sponsored by Norfolk Southern, the U.S. heavy freight rail line. This was the first time.
Old Dominion cells are just crying.
They bought the naming rights. Exactly. As the most costly and thus the most important battle of the war, McVeigh's division suffered the most extensive casualties, with 40 wounded and 7 dead. My God. At first,
Wow.
Pentagon officials told reporters, as well as the families of the dead, that enemy fire had killed them. But months later, officials admitted that all the U.S. deaths resulted from friendly fire, mainly from American silver bullets, Sabo rounds coated in depleted uranium. Goddamn. Yeah.
Isn't it just the height of irony when the guys that you're trying to protect kill you?
Yeah, I mean, I guess they were just like, well, we got to fire these things, right?
I mean, they're silver bullets, and we have Iraqi werewolves running around in the desert.
Well, apparently we had 7 American werewolves, and while I'm generally in favor of killing werewolves, I think that we should, get the most out of our enlisted werewolves, right? We don't need to be
their tank, their castle.
A were tank. After Norfolk, McVeigh's company continued towards Safwan, traveling on Highway 8, a road that eventually connected with Highway 80, or Basra Highway, a 6-lane highway that connected Kuwait City to deep inside of Iraq, its center of gravity. By this time, the Iraqi army was in full retreat, with untold thousands of Iraqi soldiers and civilians in tanks, cars, school buses, ambulances, and on foot, heading north on Basra Highway and nearby Highway 8. Throughout February 26th and 27th, the retreating Iraqis on both roads met with wave after wave of extensive aerial bombardment consisting of laser-guided missiles, mortars, cluster bombs, and machine gun fire from Apache and Cobra helicopters, Warthog and Thunderbolt fighter jets, and other U.S. aircraft equipped. I think the Thunderbolt was technically like an upgrade to the Warthog.
Come on, Wendy. Also, they're not fighter jets. Whatever.
It's a close support fighter. And other U.S. aircraft equipped with infrared optics. A U.S. pilot described the scene as the biggest 4th of July show you've ever seen. Another said, I just didn't envision going up there and shooting the hell out of everything in the dark and have them not know what the hell hit them. A truck blows up to the right. The ground blows up to the left. They have no idea where we were or what was hitting them. It looked like somebody had opened the sheep pen.
I don't get that reference. What happens when you open the sheep pen?
You just start indiscriminately killing sheep. I'm pretty sure that's how it works.
Oh, okay. Good.
Yeah. So U.S. ground troops aggressively pursued and killed those who managed to avoid the air assault. Footage recorded from an Apache helicopter revealed terrified Iraqi infantrymen shot to pieces. Some were blown to bits, and others fled their bunkers under a firestorm. An Iraqi survivor of the attack said, there were hundreds of cars destroyed, soldiers screaming. It was a nightmare as bombs fell. Lighting cars, bodies on the side of the road, and soldiers sprawled on the ground, hit by cluster bombs as they tried to escape from their vehicles. I saw hundreds of soldiers like this. Reporters on the ground described seeing over 60 miles of burning oil wells, debris, and burning wreckage from thousands of abandoned and bombed military and civilian vehicles, as well as the gruesome sights of wild dogs feasting on mutilated Iraqi corpses that numbered from the hundreds to thousands. One describes scores of soldiers in and around the vehicles, mangled and bloated in the drifting desert sands. The vehicles strafed, smashed, and burned beyond belief. Robert Fisk said he lost count of the Iraqi corpses crammed into the smoldering wreckage. or clumped face down in the sand. That is some high quality destruction.
Okay. Real quick, would you rather be on the Basra highway or at Verdun?
Fuck. Obviously I don't get to be in an A-10 Thunderbolt, right? At either of these.
No.
Just on the ground.
On the ground at Verdun or on the ground at Basra.
Okay.
Chat, feel free to play along as well.
Yeah. Where would you rather be? Personally, I would, it's unfortunate that you said that, because I should have just gone ahead and told you that I would like to be in an A-10 Thunderbolt at Verdun. Because I'm absolutely winning that single-handedly. It would be great.
I think you would win.
I would definitely win. There's no way a Maxim gun is going to take down a Thunderbolt. It's not happening. But yeah, fuck. I'd have to go Basra Highway for sure.
I think so too, which is really messed up, because I'm also thinking, like, okay, would you rather be a villager at My Lai, or would you rather be on the Basra Highway? Woodpit, Iraqi side. You're on the ground. There were no Americans on the ground.
Yeah, you don't get to be in a Bradley. Like, again, I would probably say Basra Highway, and the reason is that all the villagers at My Lai died, as if I recall correctly. It was 100. It was 100% casualties.
You think somebody made it out of the Basra Highway?
Yeah, there were people who made it out of. Yeah, they didn't kill everyone. Yeah, and also the Basra Highway thing didn't last as long. Obviously, the Battle of Verdun lasted way the fuck longer.
Yeah,
right?
That's true.
So you just need to get off the highway, run into the desert, lay down in the sand, away from everything,
and freeze to death.
Well, there's enough fire nearby. You're not going to freeze to death. But I'd rather you could bury yourself in the sand and just be like, all right,
or you just wait for Timothy McVeigh. He'll bury you for you.
Yeah, save a bunch of time. Yeah, and then you can.
I will say that I think I brought this up last week, Ryan Gosling and on, that yes, Call of Duty decided to make the Basra Highway mission the Russians' fault, which is a lot of fun.
Really? I did not realize that.
Yeah. So in the new Call of Duty Modern Warfare from 2021, there's half of it takes place in Made-Up-istan. And
they do the whole Basra Highway thing, except it's the Russians.
Well, no, there's already a Basra Highway there that they just never cleaned up, and they're like, oh yeah, the Russians did this 20 years ago.
That is ridiculous.
I know. We don't even get credit for our own war crimes.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not in favor of that. I feel like we should. I feel like we should own it.
Okay. Here's a real question. Forget all these jokes. Here's a real question. In the minds of Americans, because of the response to My Lai versus Basra, are we implicitly saying that Vietnamese are more human than Arabs?
I mean, I'm going to go ahead and say yes as a eugenicist, but other people might disagree.
Yes, that perfect white Asian phenotype.
Yep.
That you're cultivating.
You can't make Happas with an Arab.
I mean, technically you can. They're also Asian.
Well, I mean, yeah, but so are Israelis, but you'd never confuse a Korean for an Israeli. I mean, Ryan Gosling, I know this is not
showing
your first time here,
makes me think that he's hiding it.
Yes, never been concealed. Anyway, alrighty. Where were we?
It's just amazing that we just get away with that.
What, with the Basra Highway?
Yeah, it's not even. It's not even
well,
something
when
that...
I mean, it was like, oh, the Soviet Union fell. I guess we can do whatever we want. And then we did whatever we wanted. Like do you have any idea the kind of like steam the U.S. defense industry wanted to blow off? Like, the thing is that we just have to acknowledge that the Gulf War was the last real W that the U.S. ever was able to put on the board.
It was like those Punch Out games, except the Mike Tyson character is fighting Skinny McGee.
I think you mean Glass Joe.
Glass Joe, yes, that's right.
Yeah. Glass Joe. Yeah, it was Mike Tyson versus Glass Joe. Like that was the first Gulf War. It was just a slaughter, and it was kind of just a slaughter to show.
It was prime Mike Tyson versus now Jake Paul.
Yeah, did not need to. Well, it was Mike Tyson who hadn't been prime Mike Tyson who hadn't been bribed.
Post rape Mike Tyson.
Yeah, immediately pre rape as well, Mike Tyson. Because Jake Paul. This is like versus a Vander Holyfield. Jake Paul. He would have eaten that guy's face if it was the Mike Tyson that went up against Holyfield. Anyway, all right. Although the official body count ranged from 200 to 300 to several thousand, nobody could be sure how many Iraqis died on Basra Highway and on nearby Highway 8. While some reporters observed the bodies, the majority of corpses on Basra Highway simply disappeared. Coalition troops burned, dug up, reburied, and set ablaze those corpses not eaten by dogs. The Boston Globe reported...
They're not burned enough. They're not done on this side. We have to burn them again.
Thousands of Iraqi civilians buried, hungry dogs most affected. The Boston Globe reported, mile after wreckage-jammed mile of highway appeared as if frozen in mid-battle. And all along the way, Allied soldiers worked, burying hundreds of dead in shallow graves. An aerial photo revealed Iraqis being dumped in a group grave by means of a front loader, a scoop fixed to a truck. The aerial footage released by the Pentagon, however, showed shreds of Iraqi vehicles and equipment and no bodies. It was as if the desert were a sandbox and all the children had run away, leaving their toys behind.
When you're the only superpower left, they let you.
Yeah. What are they going to do? Oh, they're going to sick the UN on you? Oh, well, too bad. Guess who got a permanent seat on the Security Council? Like, what's going to happen? General Schwarzkopf.
This was peak liberalism. I mean, like if this was the liberalism that we had going into today, I'd probably be a liberal.
I mean, yeah, I mean there are a lot of people who are ostensibly on the left who are Bill Clinton Democrats, essentially. It's just it's the woke left has gone insane. But
I'd never be a liberal anymore.
You gotta abandon some of those things and just embrace I don't know, something that's you gotta embrace something that was a taboo in the 90s to be a real dissident rightist. All the real racists are married to non-whites. That's the way it goes.
I said this in a group chat before, but do you think Tim McVeigh would have chilled out if he was stationed in like Thailand
and he was just like fucking ladyboys?
Yeah.
What are you implying?
Well, just Asian chicks in general. They're like legion.
Well, that's a good question. I don't know. He probably would not have gone through the whole Elohim City arc.
Instead of a rider truck, he would have used like one of those small Japanese.
He would have used a Lidl truck.
Yeah.
A Lidl truck.
Or a rickshaw.
How much fertilizer do you think you can fit in a rickshaw? It's not enough.
Quite a bit. It stacks.
You got to make multiple trips. It's just He's just wearing a rice paddy hat. It's like there's a guy dumping cow shit in front of the building.
He's getting revenge for My Lai instead of Ruby Ridge.
Oh my god. All right. How much fertilizer can you fit in a tuk-tuk? Yeah, that's if he got stationed in oh, I guess they have tuk-tuks in Thailand too, don't they? I was gonna say like New Delhi or whatever. Anyhow, General Schwarzkopf said he ordered the attack for two reasons. First, he wanted to destroy Iraqi equipment, and second, the retreating Iraqis were just such a good target. Were just a bunch of rapists, murderers, and thugs who had raped and pillaged downtown Kuwait City, and were now trying to escape, and also buses of school children or something. The slaughter.
Well, I mean, school buses are so big; they're really good targets.
You can, I mean, imagine how cool a school bus blowing up is. It's probably really cool, right? I mean, it's like stepping on a Twinkie, you know? It's just squooshing out in all sides. The slaughter
R.I.P. to those children.
Right. The slaughter on and around Basra Highway was so utterly incomprehensible that to this day it is called the Highway of Death. Even Warhawks described the ensuing mother of all defeats as one of the grisliest scenes of the war. The world learned about the massacre through the reports of journalists who arrived shortly after, and some credited their graphic descriptions with catalyzing George Bush's February 28, 1991 ceasefire declaration. The declared objective of the coalition's military intervention had been to force the Iraqi army out of Kuwait, which ultimately was exactly what occurred.
Wait, you're telling me that as soon as a journalist sees something, they credit themselves and pat themselves on the back for it stopping?
Yeah.
You don't hate journalists enough. It's like
you're hearing. It's like you're learning this now for the first time. Ham wrote that it was on the highway of death where McVeigh witnessed one of the greatest massacres of modern warfare, Call of Duty modern warfare. The slaughter of thousands of retreating Iraqi soldiers and civilians on the Basra Road, and quoted his CEO, Captain Terry Guild, who said they wandered for miles through hundreds of blackened bodies. His official biography dedicated less than one paragraph to details of the gruesome sights they witnessed on their trek to Safwan. McVeigh saw unspeakable carnage, hideously charred bodies, some of them with their heads or limbs blown off. Some were bloated to the size of cows as they rotted in the sun. Horribly wounded enemy soldiers, some of them without arms or legs, trying to crawl along the sand, and stray dogs chewing on severed body part. At one point, members of McVeigh's unit were told to help bury the Iraqi dead in the sand. Later, without explanation, they were told to stop the burials and leave the bodies out where they could be seen. Okay, the other thing is they've mentioned dogs several times. It's like a highway through the desert, right? I mean, I've seen pictures of this. How the fuck are there so many dogs? Like, where?
Well, I mean, they're just wild. I think it's just wild bands of dogs. This is a third world country,
but they just travel the highway. I mean, how often do they have something to eat? You know, like, do people die on that highway all the time?
Oh,
is that like the plan? Like you try to drive to from Kuwait to Iraq, and occasionally you just die and get eaten by wild dogs? It doesn't seem likely.
I don't know. I don't think of all the shit that could have been made up, I don't think the dogs.
No, I don't think it's made up. I'm just wondering why are there so many fucking dogs? I mean, did they have like a truckload of fucking dogs?
No, yeah. As Ryan Gosling and Ong points out, that they have really good senses of smell, so they probably came from all over.
They smelled the barbecue, and they were just like, doner kebab.
Just like our favorite Haitian General Barbecue.
I wonder how he's doing. I haven't heard anything about Haiti recently.
I believe he's in Springfield, Ohio. I could be wrong about that.
Yeah, running a cat restaurant.
He's running a deli.
In
Springfield, Ohio.
It's probably pretty successful, to be honest. Just cooking up the pussy like they do at home. At his criminal trial, Lieutenant Rodriguez testified that McVeigh had taken pictures of the dead Iraqis. McVeigh denied this, claiming it was the driver of his Bradley, not him, who had done that. Neither his biographers...
If I was Lieutenant Rodriguez, I would just shut the fuck up.
Well,
hey man, he was taking photos.
He was taking photos.
I was trying to sleep and I heard the click from the camera.
I was trying to have a siesta, and he's clicking little shutter sound.
And that's what I knew. Tim McVeigh was a bad hombre.
Bad hombre. Bad esse. All right. Nor the Jones team would see any of the rolls of pictures he took during the Gulf War, as the FBI confiscated them after the Oklahoma bombing. In the story of the OKC bombing and Tim McVeigh, bodies or evidence of them continue to disappear. Nothing to say. After the harrowing 2.5 days of battle, orders changed, telling them to continue along along Highway 8 and stop to secure El Bosna, a small town near Iraq-Kuwait border, before heading to the Safwan airfield, where the official Iraqi surrender, ceasefire negotiations, and formal peace talks were scheduled to begin. Along the way, McVeigh and his friends observed similar horrors. On March 2nd, days after the ceasefire agreement and 1 day before the peace talks were to begin, artillery units from the 24th Division repeated the earlier Basra highway attack, this time concentrating solely on the smaller Highway 8. Abrams and Bradleys fired upon and killed retreating Iraqi soldiers and civilians, including children. General Barry McCaffrey, who commanded the attack, called it one of the most astounding scenes of destruction I have ever participated in. We destroyed all of them. Once we had them bottled up, there was no way out. All right, maybe I'd rather be at Verdun.
Do you think that, like, and I'm gonna take some heat for this, but maybe 9/11 was a little justified?
Well, this was a completely different group.
No, I know, but I'm just thinking, you can't just go around doing stuff like this forever and think that you're untouchable,
Oh, yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, look, blowback is real. Like, blowback is real. Just blowback is a real concept that is, assuming we believe the official narrative on 9/11, that's why it happened, right? And if we don't believe the official narrative, well,
we gotta find a good book on that and then do that here.
Yeah. But even if we don't believe the official narrative, certainly the response to the Great War, to the ensuing Great War on Terror, was emblematic of blowback.
Come on, guys! I served my country the same way a lot of people did, but my goodness.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't serve my country, but I forgive you for contributing to the GWAT.
Yeah, I got a nice shiny medal for my contribution to the GWAT.
Back home, they'd have hanged me. Now they'll give me a fucking medal.
All right. So true.
On March 3rd, 1991, Schwarzkopf arrived at Safwan and met with Iraqi generals who agreed to the terms of withdrawal. Lowry described it as a day to remember, and one that would be burned in our memory and history books for decades to come. McVeigh's company performed security detail during the treaty signing ceremony. One soldier captured video footage of Schwarzkopf walking down the line, shaking hands with members of the security detail, including McVeigh, who was beaming with pride. In 2011, Ray Barnes said their little peace treaty, despite the theatrics, was for the most part a big dog and pony show on some little dinky runway out in the middle of nowhere. President Bush announced the liberation of Kuwait and the end of the war. Officials declared Operation Desert Storm an overwhelming success, which,
from every metric, it was
an overwhelming success.
This was like America's back, baby.
For sure.
It was that, and what was the really small one? Not the Falklands. What was the American Falklands? With Reagan. It was the
Grenada?
Yeah, Grenada. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Because that was the one where the military industrial complex was like, all right, no more Vietnams, we did it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like, we went in and we kicked ass and we left. Perfect. You just got to show up and punch the shit out of I mean, like Bosnia under
Oh
Clinton.
yeah. Oh yeah.
That was another.
Everybody needs their retarded child to beat up. That's what every president needs. And George Bush too, he picked the wrong retarded child.
Yep. Well, he tried to actually.
He tried to take on an entire retarded gym class.
He tried. Well, he tried to hold territory with no fucking objective. Anyway, throughout the war, Pentagon spokespeople claimed they could not release even estimated numbers of American casualties, as it could affect the safety and readiness of U.S. troops. During the daily morning Pentagon press briefings, the more than 500 on-location journalists covering the war expressed their displeasure with this and complained about the inaccurate or wholly falsified information they continuously received. Hey guys, you aren't telling us the truth. We're going to have to, but we don't want to investigate anything.
Yes, you're supposed to tell us.
You're supposed to just tell us. They continuously received, most notably about the dead. The official numbers the Pentagon would eventually release varied. In August 1991, they claimed the number of U.S. soldiers killed in action was 148, including 35 from friendly fire and 467 more wounded, 72 from friendly fire.
Good Lord.
It's still an awful lot.
Yeah. That's a rounding error.
That's a rounding, yeah. As for the number of Iraqi soldiers killed, well, nobody really knew, and military officials claimed that they just had not been keeping track. A lack of concern, some linked to the negative effect official body counts had on public opinion during the Vietnam War. When asked about the number of dead Iraqi soldiers in March 1991, an unnamed Defense Intelligence Agency official remarked, "The guys in the field just weren't counting. They still aren't. They just poured them into common graves and covered them." A senior Allied officer in Riyadh offered what they called a ballpark figure of 100,000. In September 1991, the Pentagon claimed it was impossible to determine the total number of Iraqi soldiers who had died during the war. In a report to Congress that same month, Dick Cheney said that only 457 Iraqi bodies had been found on the battlefield, but made no mention of the bulldozer assault.
He's got to be the most evil dude of the last 30 years.
Only 457 Iraqi bodies have been found.
Of them.
They were found. Those aren't the ones we killed. We just found those ones.
Those are the ones in my truck.
Yeah. It turns out the bodies are free and you can take them with you.
The bodies on the Basra highway are free.
I have 457 Iraqi bodies.
I need their hearts.
We have no way of knowing precisely how many casualties occurred, and we may never know. Cheney concluded, although for years, General Schwarzkopf refused to give even an estimated count other than a very large number. In 2000, he said the number of Iraqi soldiers killed was tens of thousands. Independent estimates range from 10,000 to about 35,000, with another 75,000 wounded. Estimated numbers of collateral damage or Iraqi civilian deaths based on Iraqi census reports and UN and other allied totals range from 3,664 to 103,500 during the war, and another 205,500 more in the post-war period as a result of war-related damage to critical infrastructure. The U.S. claimed the number of surrendered or captured Iraqi POWs to be 110,000. Ultimately, the soldiers who fought with McVeigh during the Gulf War could not agree how many POWs their company had taken. Some claimed they had taken a considerable numbers, while others said none.
We took no prisoners.
Yeah, it's like, well,
I don't know about those guys. I didn't take one prisoner.
I didn't take a single prisoner. Yeah, it's like, I don't see prisoners. I just see soldiers who are fighting back really poorly with their hands above their heads. Yeah, I see unarmed soldiers, exactly. Like, what the fuck? I mean, the fact that the totals range from approximately 3,600
to
to
457.
135, 104,000 is like, well, guys, so how do you square that delta? Like, where do you lose 100,000 people? How does that even happen? And I guess the answer is the fucking desert, right? Like,
We just weren't looking.
Like, if you take a random handful of sand from next to Iraqi Highway 8, like, what's the percentage of human bone dust in that?
So I was thinking about this before. Imagine you're like an Iraqi soldier and you escape the Basra highway and you think it's like the best day of your life, and you live to be an old man, and then the U.S. comes back.
Well, it was only 10 years.
No, I know. Like 10 years later, you're like, oh, I can finally live in peace.
Son of a bitch.
Oh no, they came to finish the job, and they did. America killed a lot more than 100,000 Iraqis in Iraq. Yeah,
Yeah,
in Gulf War II.
Yeah, the GWAT was significantly higher casualties, although, more attenuated, I guess. At the beginning of the conflict, President Bush had reminded Americans that as a Navy pilot during World War II, he had personally seen the hideous face of war. For U.S. civilians, soldiers, and the rest of the world,
it looked like Dick Cheney.
It looked exactly like Dick Cheney. It's amazing. It's uncanny. I mean, that's why I put him in the cabinet. Gives me nightmares, this guy. The carnage in and around Basra Highway became emblematic of this ghastly face, and a symbol whose impact would resonate for years to come. In Richard Lowry's uncritical and embarrassingly glowing military history of the U.S.'s first war with Iraq, he describes how, during his flight to the Safwan peace talks, Schwarzkopf observed the pitch black smoke that filled the Kuwaiti air, the burning oil well fires and the highway of death below.
I love the smell of burning oil in the morning.
I mean, there's this look, this is bad, and we probably shouldn't have done the Basra Highway thing, but it is really cool also.
Yeah.
Like, it is really cool.
Yeah, I don't know what Jake Gyllenhaal was complaining about in Jarhead. Iraq seemed really cool. He's just a crybaby.
I was there, man. Bart Simpson was there, man, and he said it sucked. Let's see. Pitch black smoke and the highway of death below. An early article about the incident warned that in the coming years, it would be important to monitor the psychological state of U.S. troops who had been present, predicting they too would become psychological casualties of the atrocity. So true. Since 1991, mass graves filled with suffocated Iraqis had continued to appear. In 2003, the Saudi military began digging up and moving the graveyard of wreckage that still inhabited Basra Highway. And wow, 2003. Terrible timing. Terrible timing. The Saudi military began digging up and moving the graveyard of wreckage that still inhabited Basra Highway and surrounding areas in preparation for the U.S.'s second war with Iraq. A mess so extensive that the cleanup was expected to take a division of 17,000 soldiers over a month to complete. In fact, actually, that sounds really fucking fast. Yeah, like, doesn't that seem really fast?
Well, I mean, when you're just burying it,
but you're just reburying. I mean, I
don't know. Yeah, I guess that is pretty fast. But maybe I wonder how much of it was just like sandblasted to like.
There's just pieces. Absolutely nothing. Yeah, exactly. In 2011, U.S. soldiers ordered to clean up hundreds of scorched corpses and carbonized bodies on Basra Highway continued to have flashbacks of what they saw there as they loaded the bodies into bags and dumped them in mass graves. In 2011, one soldier on the cleanup crew described frequently waking up from nightmares about dead women and children melted together.
Oh.
Ham described the end of the Gulf War as the high point in McVeigh's life, but also the beginning of his downward spiral, which would make it the high point because it's all
Yeah,
down.
that's how a high point works.
That's how a high point works.
Fucking geniuses we got.
Bitcoin at 100K. The grim and grisly impact of McVeigh's travels on the long road to Safwan had on his frame of mind should not be underestimated.
Ryan Gosling anon. It's not that the army kills people. It's the moralizing that I take issue with. It's the America good guy narrative that we have, especially, everybody's the next Austrian painter. Meanwhile, we're burning women and children together in firestorms, and our Fifth Estate press has nothing to say about it. I have no illusions that war is terrible and should be fought as quickly and expediently as possible, and also avoided if at all possible. What was Stonewall Jackson said? He's like, keep your sword sheathed, but when war is declared, throw away your scabbard. It's that, not the actual killing, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, fuck. Anyway. A sick dog eat dog world. On March 8th, 1991, McVeigh and his cohorts arrived at a small farming community off Basra Highway, where they remained for the next 10 days. McVeigh said that the majority of Iraqi civilians, mostly women and children, were hungry as hell and continuously begged them for food. Sometimes he and the others shared their MREs, despite Lieutenant Rodriguez's contrary order, because of what happened in Vietnam when the children would carry bombs. McVeigh even wrote home expressing his displeasure with the orders not to feed the starving Iraqi children. The actions of his fellow soldiers towards the Iraqis upset McVeigh as well. He spoke later about some of them who watched the women going to the bathroom at night with thermals as they fucking.
Wait, Gabe was in Iraq?
Gabe was in Iraq? Oh my God. Yeah.
I've used thermals. You can't really see that well. I'm guessing
it would just
back then
it would be really funny because you would just see like
a stream of urine.
Of hot piss. Yeah, you just see like that. It'd be like, it'd probably be funny. It would not be titillating, to be honest. But on the other hand, I'm also never been a.
Well, I mean, you've been stuck in the desert for a year and a half, not seeing a woman.
I don't know. I don't think it would. I think it would take significantly longer to make me a pee guy.
Well, I'm just saying there are those guys that say,
I don't know.
I'd crawl through a mile of glass just and eat a mile of her shit just to see where it came out. That's what men say. Not me, but that's what it's been said.
That is the first time I have ever heard that particular phrase.
Oh,
and
really?
I could have gone the rest of my life without it.
Oh, well, you're missing out. Well, this is what I'm here for as co-host, is to bring a dose of reality to your sheltered snowflake world. Cap.
Your guiding light is the brown star, I see. Yeah. As they passed civilian houses, an observation that led him to understand how technologically advanced Americans were and recalled how he felt offended by how much we intruded into their lives. Once, Ray Barnes found a chest of tools and was in the process of taking them when a group of Iraqi civilians ran up screaming and accusing Barnes of stealing their tools. Another time, when they arrived, which he sounds like he was doing, right?
Okay, like, we're supposed to think Ray Barnes is like the good guy.
Yeah.
Like she keeps quoting, or like he's always the one. He's like the most anti-McVeigh guy I think we've heard thus far.
Right.
But he's a fucking scumbag.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you need their tools for? They're like the shit that they used to build the pyramids. It's like made of stone and wood.
A random setting mall.
It's not like there's like a full drill set of Milwaukee's there that.
Yeah, it's like a pig iron chisel in a setting mall.
Like, what are you doing, man? I hate to say well, but I'm pretty sure we can all guess. A learned scholar in Iraq, let's say.
Oh yeah, you think Ray Barnes?
I think he's what the New York Post would call a scholar.
More like Ray Townhouse, am I right? More like Ray 2-bedroom apartment. Another time, when they arrived in the town, the COs ordered McVeigh and some others to raid an abandoned motor pool, where they procured an Iraqi tank and dragged it away as a souvenir. How the fuck? I mean, the
That's going to be a lot of stamps.
Sick ass bring back, no joke. But also, what the fuck are you going to do with that, right?
Fill it with fertilizer, obviously.
You have any idea how much fertilizer an old T-72 can take? On March 9th,
they call it the Ryder truck of tanks.
The Ryder truck of tanks. No one says that, Tim. You're the one who made that one up.
Get stock in the company or something?
On March 17th, 1991, McVeigh wrote to his sister, telling her they were pulling back from the demilitarized zone and that the war had been a success for the United States, but added, "It's a sick dog-eat-dog world out there." That same day, Timothy McVeigh, known for fucking writing in nothing but cliches.
Yeah,
that same day, Lieutenant Rodriguez returned to the United States.
War is hell.
War is hell. That same day, you know that meme where it's like all is quiet on the Western Front, war is hell, with the the sad looking Wojak, and then it's Storm of Steel, and it's war is hell with the extremely happy looking Wojak.
yeah.
Still Ernst Younger, love that guy.
He probably would not have approved.
He would probably not have approved. Yeah. More of the martial valor kind of guy, less of a wanton slaughter kind of guy.
You blew up what?
That same day, Lieutenant Rodriguez returned to the States due to a death in his family, and McVeigh became the Bradley commander, in charge of about 36 men. That evening, McVeigh and two other soldiers he'd grown close to thumbed their noses at Rodriguez by placing a case of MREs and cans of fruit cocktail on the road for the hungry Iraqis.
Hey man, my cousin's quinceañera is coming, so I have to go home. But you guys stay here. Don't make sure you don't feed nobody.
I wanna eat all that food later, so just save it for me.
I cannot wait to take a nap on the plane. I'm so tired.
I cannot wait to eat 5 cases of fruit salad and take a big shit on the plane. I love taking a shit on the airport after. I'm not gonna wipe. Yeah, no, I like people to smell my shit. My dirty goat ass.
No, your sheet.
My sheet.
I always want to be a SoundCloud artist, man.
I told them that there was a death in my family, but really it was just Dia de los Muertos, and I love these sugar skulls.
It's been too long since I had a Corona.
I haven't had a sugar skull in a while, and I like to,
Ray Barnes was in the Storm of Steel.
I so sleepy.
Get it?
All right.
Get it?
Yes, I get it. I get it. Steel with an A. I get it.
Yeah,
it's a good joke.
Thank you.
Very true, Ryan Gosling and Nunn. If you read Storm of Steel with no context, you'd think the Germans won the war. Yeah.
He won the war single-handed.
He got what he wanted out of it.
Twice.
Oh boy, Trenchfoot. On March 24th, 1991, a commanding officer pulled Sergeant McVeigh, now 22 years old, from routine duty and informed him that he had 36 minutes to pack his bags and prepare to leave. Okay. McVeigh and cohort Mitch Whitmire had received their long-awaited orders to head back to Fort Riley, gather their gear, and then report to Fort Bragg, North Carolina by April 5th for the 21-day Special Forces Selection and Assessment course. Gordon Blackcloud said McVeigh was excited and happy. He always thought he was ready, and was ready in the Gulf when they transferred him. Cohort Maurice Ray said that when McVeigh left the Gulf, everyone thought he would make it. This had always been his goal, and he had, in the years they'd known him, trained very hard for this chance. While McVeigh also claimed later that he had been happy to receive the orders, other soldiers said he felt conflicted about it. Ray Barnes said, before he left the Gulf, he was nervous because he wasn't able to train. I know people that's gone into Ranger school at 180 pounds, come out 150, 145 pounds. In a letter he penned during his flight home to see Steve on March 26, 1991, McVeigh admitted that he was concerned because class starts April 1st and I'm not in shape, and predicted my list of headaches to come is about a mile long. While many people spoke of dramatic changes they observed after McVeigh's return from the Gulf War, a handful said they saw the subtle beginnings of this process before he left. They emphasized that his experiences there had made an immediate, marked and observable impression on him. Maurice Ray explained that many soldiers, including McVeigh, were very disappointed when the war ended and felt they should have been allowed to go into Baghdad and finish what was begun, a sentiment McVeigh expressed to his cousin who had also fought in the Gulf War. See, that's retarded because we know
that would
what
not
happened.
have ended well.
Yeah, we know what would have happened.
But at the same time, if they weren't, so the initial invasion of Iraq was a rousing success, and they caught Saddam not even a year after they got in there. It's everything else that was the problem. If they would have just done that and left and toppled the government and let them figure it out, probably would have been a massive cluster that we didn't have anything to do with. We could have wiped our hands of it real quick.
Right. Yeah. But trying to set up a puppet state and all that bullshit.
Yeah, that's the mistake we made.
Also, we never should have invaded in 2003.
No, there was no justifiable reason.
No fucking reason. We got lied into it. So,
it wasn't even a very good lie.
It wasn't even a good one. He's got nukes. No, he doesn't. Fuck you.
I have the receipt from all those weapons we sold him. He's got them.
Yeah, he's got them. Yeah, no, man. He had to sell those to make rent. According to Sergeant Guest and fellow cohort Garrett Bessler, McVeigh's change in attitude became apparent after witnessing the deaths of surrendering Iraqis, which they said he found terribly disturbing. McVeigh, said Guest, had been visibly shaken up by the death and destruction, and started to feel disappointed about the views of the military and the unit in particular. Bessler said that McVeigh was upset that they came all the way over and risked their lives for people to shoot at nothing. Many soldiers became disillusioned by the amount of unnecessary firing at Iraqis in the Gulf, and Bessler admitted, "I thought I was losing my mind over there." Curtis Chandler explained how it was just very frustrating to have fought a war over oil, then to be pulled off and never complete the mission. All of us kind of wondered whether it was our war to fight and why we were fighting it. We all knew that nobody cared about Kuwait. All we cared about was that damn oil. It was kind of a common consensus among us that we were fighting a war over oil. Plus, of all the prisoners we took, I'll tell you right now, ain't one of them wanted to fight. Not one. They were without question just stuck out in the middle of nowhere with nothing.
So, fun fact, Operation Iraqi Freedom, which was the 2003 start of the 2003 invasion of Iraq, right?
Yeah.
It was called Operation Iraqi Freedom. It was originally called Operation Iraqi Liberation. But once they saw that the letters spelled oil, they decided to change liberation to freedom.
Amazing. They should have kept it. Just fucking do it, guys. Just own it.
Gotta go get that oil.
Gotta go get that oil.
One of the best Chappelle Show bits, Black Bush.
I actually don't recall that very much.
Oh, it's what if George W. Bush was black, and it's just Dave Chappelle talking about trying to duck the media when it comes to the Iraq War. It's pretty good. I'll send you the link because then you got Jamie Foxx playing Black Tony Blair.
Perfect. All right. McVeigh later explained that he had previously believed they entered the war to protect the country, the U.S. Constitution, and innocent people, And only at the end did he wake up and realize that the war was all economics, that he and his cohorts had been sent over there to protect big oil companies. He recalled their superiors' warnings of a horrible and evil enemy, but he now began to understand that the Iraqi soldiers he saw and killed on the front lines were just as human as the Americans. Well,
oh, not just as human. Humans typically aren't burned to a crisp.
More than they were, they were more human than they were wild dogs.
One could say that they were cannon fodder.
Oh God, cannon fodder mentioned.
and Tim McVeigh, just a mindless automaton.
God damn it.
The U.S. government is truly perfect.
The perfect and the wicked. Yes, okay, great, wonderful. We've done everything. You dirty double dealer.
Thank you. Yes.
There we go. All right. Let's see here. Why doesn't McVeigh's gun have any bullets? Because Ray Barnes took his mag.
Told them.
Took his mag. Come on.
Oh, I see.
It was a good one.
His mag.
Yeah.
So, are you telling me that Lieutenant Rodriguez was promoted to Capitalisimo?
No.
All right. Fuck it.
Yeah. In an internal memorandum, the Jones team noted that when McVeigh spoke to them about the war, as well as the victims of Waco, he often welled up with emotion, and while his expressions were unquestionably genuine and real, the sympathy he displayed seemed irreconcilable with the striking insensitivity he showed towards the victim of the Oklahoma bombing. It was almost as if he had an insensitivity switch that turned off his feelings. And while his ability to do this, God damn it, had allowed him to get through the Gulf War, they believed it had also allowed him to do what he did in Oklahoma City without thinking about the human beings he was about to kill. The Jones team soon learned the full extent and capabilities of McVeigh's switch. In 1997, Mark Ham noted an overrepresentation of combat veterans among the prison population and, drawing from a number of studies, discussed possible underlying psychological factors that led McVeigh to bomb the Murrah. Although, really, I think we need to ask about the demographic factors of those veterans. Just gonna lay that out there.
A lot of Ray Barneses in prison. Are you telling me?
Yeah, so just saying. There's a lot in the military and the enlisted groups, and there's a lot in prison. And
Ray Barnes correlated.
Ray Barnes
in a Bradley. You can go
wherever you want to go. Yeah. Among them was the Army's training, fine-tuned over the years to remove soldiers' aversion to murdering other humans through highly calculated conditioning, which leads to a reflexive willingness to obey any orders, including killing. Once conditioned, soldiers retain the learned aggression and desire to kill, sometimes enacting this in the civilian world. Indeed, Lee Harvey Oswald, Texas bell tower sniper Charles Whitman, DC Beltway sniper John Allen Muhammad, Fort Hood shooter Major Nidal Malik, Naval Yard shooter Alex Alexis, serial killers Jeffrey Dahmer and Son of Sam David Berkowitz, and of course Timothy McVeigh, all had one thing in common. U.S. military training awakened their lust to kill and refined their ability to do it. A June 9th, 2001 article in the Ottawa Citizen warned of the inevitability of other McVeighs strolling the streets of Canada with undiagnosed or untreated post-traumatic stress disorder, rendering them ticking time bombs waiting to explode. The article urged Gulf War and other combat veterans to seek treatment for PTSD symptoms, which included hyper-awareness, sleep disorders, social isolation, panic attacks, anger management issues, depression, and suicidal thoughts. I like how hyper-awareness is one of the things. It's like, do not notice things.
Noticing? Oh, I haven't read that book yet.
In his 1995 book, On Killing... Okay, Owen Zaleski, what can we do to improve the Discord? Please
let's take 5 minutes.
Let's take 5 minutes
this before we go on to Dave Grossman's terrific book that I read on spring break, and people thought I was a psycho.
On Killing: The Psychological Cost of Learning to Kill in War and Society by Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman, former Army Ranger, paratrooper, and instructor of psychology at West Point and military science at Arkansas State University, wrote that soldiers experience typical killing response stages during and after combat. The first, fear and concern, occurred prior to engagement with the enemy. In the second, soldiers rely upon their previous military training and desensitization to killing, and during the actual fighting, act reflexively and mindlessly. Immediately after, the heightened awareness and adrenaline produced during the combat causes an exhilaration stage, which for some becomes addictive. According to Grossman, more often than not, soldiers come to experience remorse for their acts, eventually rationalizing and accepting them. But that the period between their exhilaration and remorse is the most powerful and overwhelming time for them. And for speaking of Ernst Jünger, that is, speaking of Ernst Jünger, I feel like he never got out of the exhilaration stage.
Yeah,
he was just
he's running around with a boner all the time.
This is what it is for the rest of my life, and I'm never changing. The eternal doomer bloomer. Nearly 20 years after the end of the Gulf War, Ray Barnes described exactly the type of combat exhilaration Grossman wrote about. I'm not going to lie to you. I was scared over there, but at the same time, I felt exhilarated. I mean, especially when you went out, you just didn't know if that was your last time. In a strange way, I'm a fear junkie. I like it. I felt alive. Your endorphins get going, and I remember seeing this laying on my cot reading a book, and I look up and there's a glowing ball, a shooting star. About that time, another little ball slams into it. Boom! And you can hear the shrapnel. They shot a Scud down. Then I remember we were securing the forward position for the battalion and sitting out there, and all of a sudden, the sand just erupts. Our own people lobbing mortars at us. Actually, when I was over there, I wasn't worried about the enemy. I was worried about our guys killing us. We had chopper pilots melt down a 113 scout vehicle because it was out there on the horizon. It was all melted down. It's fucking, God damn it, guys.
Can they not see?
Yeah, exactly. Like you'd think, it's got to just be like, boy.
Sir, the enemy is painting their trucks with American flags.
Sir, it seems that they've stolen our radio transponders and are broadcasting friendly signals. Are you sure they're not friendlies?
Sir, they've
can't be too sure.
Better look melt like them white first. Boys from Iowa.
Oh my God, they're doing cosmetic surgery to look like corn-fed American horses. Following closely on the heels of the thrilling height McVeigh experienced was a looming boredom. As he sat in the small Iraqi farming community, coming down from his battle high, he admitted to Steve in a letter that he was itching to torch something. The Army appreciated such itches and rewarded McVeigh for taking out the Iraqis, including among these were the Good Conduct Medal, Army Commendation Medal for Valorous Achievement, Southeast Service Medal with 2 bronze stars for meritorious achievement, a Combat Infantry Badge for proficiency in the performance of duties under hazardous combat operations, National Defense Service Medal, and the Kuwaiti Liberation Medal, which is just isn't that just like a field medal? Like it's just you participated in this theater?
Yeah, a few of those, like the Southeast Service Medal, National Defense Service Medal. I got one just for enlisting during the GWAT.
Wow. Okay.
Like you just get that when the country is quote unquote at war.
Oh, interesting. So that's just being enlisted during wartime.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And then actually, like by the time that I got out, or maybe a couple of years after I got out, they were like, "Oh yeah, we're not doing that anymore." So
because it's dumb because everyone gets it.
Well, I mean, typically, like you only get it if there's a war going. You know what I mean? Like, so they declared that the state of war was over.
Got it. Oh, okay. I see what you mean. So you can if you sign up right now, you can't get a National Defense Service Medal.
No, you can't.
Okay.
But sign up in 6 months and you'll get 2.
Oh God. Oh God. If you sign up now, you'll get. Yeah, exactly.
Billy
McVeigh's
Mays
fellow
here for the U.S. military.
boy, if you wanna get the Ukrainian Theater Service Medal, you better vote for Kamala. Thank God. Thank God that didn't happen. All right. McVeigh's fellow soldier and friend, Ted Thorne, reflected on this and told the Jones team, "We were supposed to be tough guys, you know? They taught us how to be killers, and then they sent us back home to the real world. We're supposed to be normal people again, but it just doesn't quite work like that. An infantry unit is trained as killers. That's what an infantry person is. You can't just take a normal person and put them in there. It wouldn't work out." Another cohort later relayed his opinion that the post OKC bombing media reports depicting McVeigh as a psychopathic killer were inaccurate. The things we had to deal with.
He didn't even like killing.
He didn't even like killing.
We tried to get him to kill more people, but he
wasn't
just
psychopath. He was a conscientious killer.
Real bleeding heart, if you ask me. He didn't even want to bury all those Iraqis.
And if you ask Dick Cheney, he knows a thing or two about hearts. The things we had to deal with, having to kill somebody, that was part of our job, and we did it, and it didn't make a difference how old or how young or how big or what color. It didn't matter. See, I'd be more willing to kill an obese person. Honestly, if you're over like 400 pounds.
Well, I mean, they're just easier to hit.
Oh, I mean, yeah. I mean, why you don't work too hard. You got to work smart. You just line up a bunch of 400-pounders. I feel
imagine like they're just running away.
I mean, imagine they run ever.
Waddling away.
Rolling down the sand dune.
Hey, yo,
gathering
man,
speed.
My cousin is up there.
My cousin, he's a real gordo.
He's a chonga, and she's a chonga.
El chongos. All right. Didn't matter. That went with the job, and Tim was responsible when it came to doing a job. He'd do it regardless of who or what. That's what we were trained to do, and that's what he did. He was one of the few people in the unit I trusted to have my back. The other guys, it didn't really hit them that if you go to war, you're going to have to kill somebody. That's what you're for, and most of the people couldn't comprehend that. Some people didn't take the job seriously, but Tim and I did. Tim and a lot of others became very disillusioned because of the stupidity displayed that got a lot of people killed. I remember being told by a full bird colonel in basic training that if you had to kill a kid, kill them. The press is making him out to be a psychopathic, crazy maniac that likes to kill people, and he's not like that. He's a soldier. He did what he was trained to do, and that's what he was told to do. Killing comes with our job. Which, yeah.
And he was told to do a OKC, so
he was told to calculate the volume of a Ryder truck and bomb the Murrah Building in Oklahoma City. Then, according to the guilty agent theory,
the so-called mainstream press would have you believe that this honest-to-goodness war hero would do something so horrible.
Strange how someone could be so perfect and yet so wicked.
Now available on Amazon.
Cold Coming mentioned again. And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him. And power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth to kill with sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth. And there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the whole moon became as blood.
That's pretty
Revelation
good.
6, 8, and 12.
That's pretty good, Cap. You should put that somewhere.
Yeah, you should probably save that. Pretty good one. Archival, oral, and journalistic records. I wonder who wrote that. Archival, oral, and journalistic records reveal the presence of other terrifying specters, seen and unseen, looming over McVeigh and his cohorts during the harrowing trek through the desert that, thus far, have remained unexplored in previous biographical and explanatory accounts of the Oklahoma City bombing. Even as it was being waged, scientists described the Gulf War as an unprecedented atmospheric disaster an enormous unplanned experiment in the atmosphere, and warned that the chemicals released during it would threaten all living things in the region for decades to come. Some of the oil well fires that burned throughout Iraq and Kuwait consumed nearly 3 million barrels, or 250 million gallons of oil that day, or 1/10 the amount that the U.S. fleet of F-150s burns today in a given month.
Nice.
Nice. Let's see. A tenth of that used worldwide daily, and scientists predicted that the fires, numbering in the thousands, would burn for years, although most were extinguished within 6 months after the war's end. Iraq claimed the fires resulted from Allied attacks, while Allied forces said that the Iraqi army had set the fires. No matter who lit them, by March 2nd, 1991, thick clouds of flammable, poisonous, neurotoxic, carcinogenic, and sulfurous smoke, fumes, and gases had risen over 12,000 feet and spread in every direction, reportedly covering half of Kuwait. The sun was continuously blacked out, sand dunes turned black, and black rain fell over the region in a radius up to 800 miles. Soot from the fires covered uniforms, hair, and food. In April 1991, the U.S. Army Environmental Hygiene Agency conducted a risk assessment of the smoke, and similar related studies continued throughout the next 5 years. That is metal as fuck.
Yeah, actually, a little known fact, that's how RFK Jr. got his disease. He was spending too much time in Kuwait.
Not eating.
No.
Not eating the poos.
No. He's never done it.
He's never gone down?
No, he's a Kennedy.
He's a Kennedy. He does not reciprocate. That is yeah. Is that actually true though about the Kuwait?
Yeah, no, he was hunting.
I mean, I know he was an environmental lawyer.
But... Yeah, no, he was hunting for sand snakes, a la Dune.
You are fucking kidding me.
Yes.
That's too bad. I really wanted it to be true.
I know. I love the best part about my alternative facts and my misinformation is that they're fun and you want to believe them.
They're fun and quirky. Everyone else does it wrong. They make it too horny.
Stupid bastards.
McVeigh's fellow soldiers recalled seeing the fires and described the last days of their drive through the desert to the Jones team. Sergeant Host remembered seeing entire oil fields burning and said, "The sky was black. It was gray the entire time we were there. At night, when you'd go to the telephone, you couldn't see the stars. At the time, it wasn't hard to breathe because all the fumes seemed to be going up high, but then later we really got hit with it when it started to rain, and it all came down." McVeigh said that he personally counted 50 oil fires and was able to take pictures of some of them, and recalled how, as they traveled down along Basra and Highway 8, the carbon from the fires blackened the sky, and a coating of black soot covered the sand for acres. Soldiers stepping over it left white footprints. Even Ray Barnes. In addition to the oil fires, the Allies' use of depleted uranium on tank armor and artillery shells and their bombing of Iraqi weapons facilities had released even more poisonous chemicals into the atmosphere. McVeigh's division was among the thousands of U.S. troops exposed to depleted uranium, whose effects after 1 hour of exposure scientists equated to 50 chest x-rays. A British Atomic Energy Authority report leaked to The Independent in November 1991 said that when the coalition troops exited the Gulf, they had left enough depleted uranium behind to cause at least 500,000 cancer-related deaths.
Oh man, I was muted for my not great, not terrible joke.
Oh, what was it?
Well, because you said 50 chest x-rays.
Oh, not great, not terrible.
Yeah.
You just want it to be more chest x-rays?
No, you never seen Chernobyl?
I haven't actually.
Oh, actually, really good show. Definitely you should check it out. But they keep saying like, oh, 3.6 Roentgen. Oh, that's not great, but it's not terrible, but it's not great, you know. And it turned out to be, Chernobyl.
Right.
It's a great joke for anybody who's seen it.
It's a great joke for anyone who's seen Chernobyl, but sadly, it does not include me. Anyone in the audience can feel free to have a sensible chuckle. Of course, this was in no way reflected. This in no way reflected the other illnesses and adverse effects that the chemical nightmare would have upon the Iraqi population. Towards the conclusion of the war, U.S. military officials had advised soldiers and media outlets about the strong possibility that Iraq might deploy chemical weapons, but later denied that either they or Iraqi soldiers there supported allegations. Neither they or Iraq had used them, although studies conducted by other countries after the war, as well as statements given by soldiers there, supported allegations that somebody had. In late February 1991, General Schwarzkopf publicly denied that Iraq was using chemical weapons, and National Security Advisor Robert Gates warned that Iraqi commanders who did so would face a war crimes tribunal. Still, even after the war was over, allegations and rumors that chemical weapons had been used continued to surface. In 1993, the concerns of veterans groups, researchers, and government officials prompted a Pentagon study inquiring into the possibility that U.S. soldiers in the Gulf had been exposed to chemical weapons, which was overseen by former Deputy Defense Secretary and current CIA Director John Douche. The study's 1994 report concluded that no evidence existed of Iraqi use of chemical or biological weapons or any exposure of U.S. service members to chemical or biological warfare agents in Kuwait or Saudi Arabia. The results were suspect, given that the head of the study, Nobel laureate Joshua Lederberg, had also been on the board of directors of American Type Culture Collection, a nonprofit company that made over 70 government-approved shipments of anthrax and other deadly pathogens to Iraq between 1985 and 1989. How curious. Yeah, NGOs not even once, right?
I can't believe I'm still stuck on John Douche.
Yeah,
it's not Deutsch. That's not how you spell Deutsch.
Yeah, it's got to be douche. All right, here. A similar investigation by a House Oversight Committee in 1996 led to revelations that for several days, U.S. soldiers, in an attempt to destroy them, blew up munitions held in a storage bunker called Bunker 73 in Kamiisia, 25 miles from the city of Basra. The munitions, mostly rockets, contained the nerve agent sarin, mustard gas, and other possible biological agents. In doing so, they released a cloud of, among other things, 7 tons of sarin into the air that, when carried by the winds, exposed untold numbers of people.
It wasn't enough to blow them up, burn them to death, but we had to make sure that we also had to gas our own people just to,
What are we gonna do with this low-level exposure to a high-powered nerve agent? Well, I don't know. I guess we're gonna develop some sort of syndrome, some sort of Gulf War syndrome. Yeah. Not knowing the bunkers contained rockets filled with sarin, they did not wear protective gear, and when chemical alarms went off alerting them to the danger, officers told troops they were faulty and ordered them to disconnect the alarms. Brilliant. Just like you do.
Hey, man, those alarms, they're faulty, and they're too loud. I'm trying to sleep.
Too loud. I'm trying to sleep, man. Yeah. While the number of Iraqis exposed...
This is not service related.
This is yeah, we're not going to pay for that. It's not service related. Yeah, did they finally pay for that? Do you follow the Veterans Affairs stuff?
They did finally pay for that.
$700. You got a $700.
$700.
Yeah, you got a $50 gift card to the Cracker Barrel.
I mean, no, I mean, you get decent amount. I'm 50% disabled. I have a 50% rating, and I get like $1,000 a month.
Wow, that's cannot possibly be half your income.
No,
that's obviously not worth it.
Nope, no, but you know, it's nice.
Wow,
it's something.
It's very brave of you to admit that you're disabled on air. I just want you to know that
it's not real.
Is that what has caused you to decide to become an author?
Yes, yeah, it's all the brain damage.
It's all the brain damage. Yes, I know what will make me a fortune: writing niche dissident fiction. That's what will do it.
They won't let me back into Harvard, so.
They won't let me back into Harvard. I'll visit it one time. You went to Harvard Yard, but not actual.
He's just like my smoke alarm at home, man.
Just like my smoke alarm. It just keeps going off. Oh, yes, wood pit. Wonderful. Absolutely beautiful. I wish that I had a ceiling bird on the soundboard, but I do not. I need to get that. All right. While the number of Iraqis exposed to
Jose.
While the number of Iraqis exposed to and affected by the sarin release remains unknown, over the years the official numbers of U.S. soldiers exposed continue to grow. At first, the DoD insisted no troops were exposed. In September 1996, the Pentagon issued a statement that 5,000 U.S. soldiers were exposed. By October 1996, after the Pentagon set up an information hotline, the number grew to 15,000. A retired Army general whose troops had been camped within 15 miles of Bunker 73 put the number at 24,000 and expressed concern as his soldiers had not worn gas masks. Newsday estimated the number at 29,000. As of 2013, the Pentagon's estimate of how many U.S. soldiers could have been exposed to the toxins released at Qamishiyah alone reached 100,000.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
God bless our government, man. They wanted a war and they got it.
They sure did. Let's see. Years later, the Defense Department revealed that the Pentagon's nuclear, biological, and chemical warfare logs, which tracked the chemical alarms, had mysteriously gone missing. A circumstance one military officer compared to the 18-minute gap in the Nixon Watergate tapes. The missing records pertain specifically to entries from March 3rd to 12th, 1991, the period during which McVeigh and company trekked through the desert with the spoils of war darkening their path. One cohort said, "They sent me out in the middle of this wide ocean of desert, and there's about 50 dead sheep around me with no blood in sight on them. That's a good indication that some chemical agents were used." Similarly, cohort Sam Stansky, name changed, recalled, "They still say to this day that there were no chemicals released, but I think there was. For one, they used to go down and check the bunkers, clear out the bunkers. And there was a call come over the radio that said no one go in the bunkers anymore because a soldier went down in it and rubbed up against the wall and got a nerve agent on it. And so they stopped that and just started blowing the bunkers up. There's a lot of things about the war that haven't been told, and the government don't want told. One night, when I was on guard duty in Desert Storm, a guy was standing next to me, and this is going to sound funny to you, but all of a sudden I saw a bright green glow that just floated through the air, and it was all over the place. And I asked the guy next to me if he saw it too, and he said he did. That stuff's not being told." Well, that man saw a fucking alien.
Yeah.
That was
you guys are gonna think I'm crazy.
That was an Lamau. Yeah. You guys are gonna think I'm crazy, but I heard the voice of Muhammad. Yeah.
It was actually Moo Dang.
I heard the voice of Moo Dang. Y'all will get that in 2024. Yeah. Cutest little old thing I ever did see, but the military don't want you to know.
I'm gonna just tell you like it is real quick. I was a good old boy down in Iraq, and I found myself a LMAO.
An Lamau, you might say. All right. In 1995, Cohort Sergeant Guest opined that he could not legitimately say if we were or weren't exposed to nerve gas because of U.S. bombings of Iraqi munitions, and mused that they had only recently begun to learn about the toxicity of the air that swept over them during their trek through the desert. Somebody knew, though. A recently declassified memo, dated March 23, 1991, and sent from the Army Central Command Nuclear, Biological, and Chemical Staff to 17th Airborne Corps states, "Arsent has positive confirmation by urinalysis of CML, chemical, agent blister casualty in 7th Corps." The memo went over to instruct that if asked by the press, spokespeople were to report that no chemical casualties had occurred. As of 2015, the estimated number of all U.S. soldiers exposed to nerve gas and other chemical agents was over 200,000. Huh.
Ooh.
Keeps going up. Seems like that's getting pretty close to all of them. The realities of the Gulf War and later attempts to determine the truth were further complicated because immediately after Iraq invaded Kuwait, the Defense Department sought and obtained approval by the Food and Drug Administration to administer a cocktail of experimental drugs to troops without their informed consent, claiming that to obtain such consent was simply unfeasible. The known experimental drugs administered included pre-treatments and vaccines meant to counter the effects of chemical and biological weapons. At the time, the FDA had previously barred the use of two of them, botulinum toxoid and I'm not going to try to pronounce that bromide, on civilian populations, and botulinum specifically remains unapproved by the FDA for civilian use because of its adverse side effects.
Oh, let me hold on. Pyridostigmine. There you go. Not that hard, Cap. It's English.
Pyridostigmine. Yeah. Bromide. Yeah, that seems right. Let's see. Further, the doses administered to soldiers during the Gulf War were estimated based on previous tests on actual guinea pigs. And I love the actual there. That's great.
And they all died.
Yeah, rather than
Anthony Fauci watched all of those guinea pigs die.
And the effects on the combined use of all of the drugs has not been tested. Of course, it never is. The effects of combined drugs are never fucking tested.
I swear I almost posted, was Timothy McVeigh vaxxed? As in my
answer is yes. We can definitely
vaxxed? Question mark?
That's probably going to work its way onto one of the thumbnails. For several days prior to the start of the ground war and throughout its duration, commanders ordered soldiers to take anti-nerve gas and anti-anthrax agents as well as BP pills, the later meant to enhance the effectiveness of the former. If they refused, they were threatened with court-martials. Where still, not only had informed consent requirement been bypassed by the military, but the military kept no records of those who received widely distributed anthrax vaccines, BP pills, or botulism shots, or the dosages administered.
The more things change, the more they stay the same.
Yeah. One Army reservist recalled that upon receiving word of his impending deployment to Iraq in January 1991, he and his battalion were given vaccinations over the course of 3 days until on the last day, medics informed that they had received the entire required pre-deployment vaccination regimen. According to him, the series of vaccinations was designed to be given over an 8-month period, and we received it in 3 days. Upon conclusion of the vaccination process, we were told to turn in our personal shot records. You are required to keep those on your person at all times. We protested, but still had to turn them in. A few years later, when he went to check his records, they had been destroyed. Amazing.
At
least one U.S. Army doctor was court-martialed after refusing to dispense the daily dose of BP pills, whose effects on humans were unknown. Captain Yolanda Hewitt Vaughn, a former U.S. Army doctor, applied for conscientious objector status during Operation Desert Storm in December 1990, citing as her reasons the Nuremberg principles and the experimental vaccines that her superiors forced her to administer. Jamie, can you pull up what Yolanda Hewitt Vaughn is doing now?
Yeah, let's see. I'm Jamie.
You are Jamie. That's right. You are the Jamie.
She is a family medical doctor.
Huh. Well, guys, if you are in
Kansas City,
guys are in Kansas City, Kansas, go and you're willing to see a lady doctor. I would no joke look this lady up, right? I'm just saying.
Actually, this says that she's practicing in Independence, Missouri.
That is outside of that's part of Kansas City.
No, I know. No, but yeah. But she's either practicing on the Kansas side of Kansas City or in Independence, Missouri. Hold Let's see what else we got here. Practicing 44 years, accepts 47 different insurance plans. And she was suing the Kansas State Board of Healing Arts for
in 1999.
Yes.
Oh no, this is about Operation Desert Shield. Plaintiff left her military unit without authorization to avoid deployment.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
So if there is a hero in this book, I think it's this lady.
Yeah, Yolanda Hewitt Vaughn. Good for old Yolanda, and she is fucking old. She's 73 according to this. So yeah, based old lady. Good job.
Hey, Yolanda.
Yeah. She appears to be she appeared to in the photos she looks like an old white lady. So
really?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Maybe she's just like Castizo.
Would not I guess that?
She could just be Castizo. Anyway,
you're mid Castizo, sir.
You're mid Castizo, sir. Well, I guess I couldn't get one of the East Asians, so I'll have to settle. Let's see here. Where am I? Let's see. Experimental vaccines that her superiors forced her to administer. After the denial of her request for CO status, Hewitt Vaughn deserted, an offense leading to her conviction and a 2.5-year prison sentence. Another recalled how
Wendy just stays winning.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just always with the.
Another recalled how it was common knowledge that their BPs were untested. We knew it, and the Army, knew it. Basically, the drugs came down through an Army channels as a prophylactic remedy for nerve gas. The orders were just give them. You didn't have any choice. Their reasoning was, we're in a war and we have to do unusual things. One soldier said, I took the tablet and I had a shot. They told us the tablets could possibly make us sterile. They said they didn't know, but you have to take them anyway. Some guys refused, but they made them. Yet another said, we popped the BP pills like aspirin. Yikes. Fucking guy.
That's like, oh yeah, no, it's raining the other day and they accidentally sprayed us with this thing called Agent Orange. I'm sure it's fine.
Right. Yeah. No big deal. My hair fell out, but well, save money on haircuts.
I'm just
it's whatever.
I'm just Spangler maxing.
God. Absolutely bald. Spangma males stay winning. During the Gulf War, McVeigh was assigned to the 24th Division, mechanized, one of the two divisions deployed to the Gulf earlier than others. A division journalist, Gary Matsumoto, said, we're likely candidates for the first round of experimental vaccines. Indeed, like the other soldiers, many of McVeigh's cohorts also reported receiving experimental and untested drugs, including anthrax vaccines and anti-anthrax agents, as well as dousing themselves with insect repellents with known detrimental side effects. A large number recalled commanders' orders not to speak about the classified shots they received. Tony Sykes, name changed, were forced to take pills. We had to take them on direct order, and most of the guys didn't want to. We found out the pills were experimental, and no one was given a choice, so we were all guinea pigs for the government. Until 1993, I was led to believe that the shots and pills were classified and not to be talked about. Charlie Barton, name changed, said, I took the anti-nerve agent pills. I don't know if Tim did or not. I was about 20 miles from where Tim was when the first scuds came in, and they told us to take them. I was eating them like candy. I took them about once every 4 to 6 hours. Jesus. McVeigh's cohorts also recalled warnings of what would happen to them if they refused. Ray Barnes said, we had to take the anti-botulism toxin. Everyone had to take that. This is how they put it. You volunteer to take it, or don't take it, and you'll get an Article 15, and you'll be tried because you're disobeying an order in a time of war. Sam Stansky elaborated. We're required to take shots for anthrax in case of a chemical attack. They brought about a consent, non-consent form for the anthrax shots, and there was a soldier or two in our company that said, no, I'm not consenting to this shot. And they called up to battalion, and the battalion commander sent down word. His response was, I don't give a damn. They're taking the shot anyhow. We were made to take the shot. Right on the box it said, for test purposes only, not for human use. And they were just forced
You're not
to
a
take
human,
the shot.
you're a soldier.
You are a meat popsicle. They were just forced to take the shot whether they wanted to or not. We also took anti-nerve agent pills. Shortly after the Gulf War ended, veteran advocacy groups became concerned about the growing number of returning troops suffering from a constellation of debilitating physical symptoms, which, despite their unknown etymology, that seems like the wrong word, was collectively termed Gulf War syndrome. Wouldn't it be etiology? Anyway,
I don't know.
Collectively termed Gulf War syndrome. In late 1991, the Department of Veterans Affairs obtained congressional approval to create a Gulf War registry for veterans in order to track their movements in the Gulf, the extent of their exposure to toxic fumes from the oil well fires, and their current health status. Officials urged Gulf War veterans to report to their nearest VA for a medical screening to determine their exposure to a growing list of toxins beyond petroleum poisoning, including parasitic infection, depleted uranium, and chemical weapons such as sarin nerve gas, all later acknowledged as possible culprits in the Gulf War syndrome epidemic. In June 1993, officials in the Clinton administration publicly acknowledged that the depleted uranium used on U.S. tanks and artillery shells may have contributed to the growing number of Gulf War veterans displaying symptoms related to Gulf War syndrome. The commander of Walter Reed Medical Center agreed, and during a congressional hearing that year, added oil well fires to the list of suspected causes. In fact, that probably makes me feel like it was something else. Just saying. Makes me feel like it was probably the experimental drugs.
Vaxxed?
Vaxxed? However, despite the ostensible efforts to understand Gulf War syndrome and help the soldiers suffering from it, many times soldiers who later reviewed their military medical records, often in an attempt to understand their debilitating and relentless symptoms, found that several of the vaccines and medicines they were administered prior to and during the Gulf War were not noted on them.
They were probably just misremembering.
Oh, yeah. Other times their records contained outright falsifications, and some were told their records had been destroyed because there had not been enough space to ship them back to the U.S. The Jones team found it odd that, given the barrage of shots and pills described by McVeigh himself as well as his fellow soldiers, upon their inspections of the available portions of his military medical records, there was no appearance of the shots and pills. Also absent from McVeigh's records are consent forms for any of the extensive medical treatments he received, including his military immunization records.
Is this your signature on this consent form? No.
Absolutely not.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Your Honor, I wish to recuse myself
for introducing this against my own class. Yeah. Let's see. Also absent from McVeigh's records are consent forms for any of the extensive medical treatments he received, including his military immunization records. In fact, the only entry in the available portions of McVeigh's military records for the entire duration of his Gulf War service appears on February 17th, 1991, when he received the experimental botulinum toxoid inoculation shot the day before the ground war started, and the same day that President Bush promised that Iraq's invasion of Kuwait would end very shortly. It's strange how that's the one that's still there. Like, oh, we kept this one.
We'll keep these vaccinations in case there's ever a global pandemic for a flu-like disease.
Oh, God. Airborne botulism. It's going to happen. When asked about the lone botulism shot entry, McVeigh said he believed it was some kind of test vaccine that he and the others were used as guinea pigs. Although at the time, he had asked around about what exactly the shots were, nobody would speak with him about it. Only later did he learn that one of the shots was an anti-anthrax inoculation, and that his unit had been given additional immunizations whose names and chemical compositions he still did not know. McVeigh further explained that upon arriving in the Gulf, they were ordered to take 2 kinds of pills, but after taking the first dose, he refused to take any more. He identified one of them as a nerve agent pill, but was unable to identify the other.
The other was called ball fall off pill.
Ball fall off pill.
It makes your balls
fall off. Yes. Dan to Dan mentioned. Watch what best running anime currently. Dan to Dan makes your balls fall off. Let's see.
I didn't think you could be that gay.
You've never watched it?
No.
I'm
straight.
It's actually fairly kino.
Is it?
Yeah.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, you can. That's fine. He also described widespread use of the insecticide called DEET, one of the 67 insecticides and insect repellents used in the Gulf War, now linked to Gulf War syndrome.
Luckily, DEET is super safe. I slather a little bit on every single day before I leave home.
Right under the nose, so you can really
that
huff
good DEET goodness.
Yep. McVeigh said he never actually used the DEET because there were no insects, but did find it to be a good fire starter. God damn it.
Well, we don't have any insects out here, but we really want to kill these guys.
Yeah. Among the other Gulf War exposures McVeigh described to his attorneys was radioactive armor-piercing ammunition coated with depleted uranium, and he even had a picture of himself holding the weapon whose ammo he thought was radioactive, a 25 millimeter APDST, armor-piercing, discarding Sabo tracer.
1 second, I lost the...
No problem. Alrighty.
Sorry about that, everyone.
Sorry, everybody. Let's see.
The crew is drunk.
Drunk?
Yeah.
It's taken you a while, buddy.
Ooh.
You sure you're not going to show anything you didn't need to?
I've been hitting the sauce a little too hard today.
Sauce a little too hard. You're just gonna... Oh my God, Hudson! This isn't Wendy Painting's Aberration in the Heartland of the Real. This is your most recent tax returns.
This is The Perfect and the Wicked by T.R. Hudson.
You have. I think you've had enough name drops for the day, sir. Yeah, I'm cutting you off. Having explained these exposures, McVeigh then helped his defense attorneys identify other strikingly absent portions of his records, including, among others, the entire Gulf War period and his later Special Forces tryout. Jones' team informed the court, about the withholding of this and other critical information about their client, and obtained permission from the court to hire 2 experts to review the records they did possess and obtain those they did not. However, neither expert was able to do so. According to FBI records in the Jones collection, as early as July 1995, an inspector general from the New York State Military Affairs Office with the rank of major provided the FBI and the Army's Criminal Intelligence Division in Fort Sill, Oklahoma, with some of the records. When he did so, the major advised the FBI that the documents can only be used for government purpose.
This major keeps popping up.
Yeah, just random major. Let's see. Can only be used for government purpose and are covered by the Privacy Act. On March 12th, 1996, the Jones team's military records expert visited Fort Riley, but upon his return, notified the team that he was not able to look at the division's files for the Desert Storm period, as these records had been sent to the office of the Joint Chiefs of Staff in Washington, D.C. at their request. 2 days later, when the legal team contacted Captain Rodriguez, formerly lieutenant,
he stayed in.
God damn it, to discuss certain aspects of Tim's records, he declined, explaining that 2 FBI agents instructed him not to discuss his knowledge of McVeigh or the contents of the records with anyone, especially the defense team.
Hey man, they told me that you guys I'm not supposed to be talking to you people.
They said not to tell you that though, because it's witness tampering. But I don't care. I'm so sleepy. I just want to.
He just fell asleep on the stand.
Fell asleep on the stand. All right. The Jones team soon realized Fortier's military records were incomplete as well, and that immediately after the arrest of McVeigh, Nichols and Fortier, the Pentagon the arrest of McVeigh, Nichols, and Fortier, the Pentagon had sealed the records of all three. In March 1997, the Jones team noted that not only did they have incomplete military records for McVeigh, but also for Fortier and Nichols, and that further, within the records they did have, there were no medical or promotion records in Fortier's file and no promotion orders in Tim's file. So they acknowledged that they just didn't have any of the records.
We just burned it all.
Yeah, we just burned it. There's just not enough room for all these records.
There was this big oil well on fire. We just put all our paperwork in there.
Yeah,
we honestly thought these guys were going to die before there were any adverse effects from the drugs we gave them. We thought that it was going to be a bloodbath in Iraq.
Thank God, though. Thank God. Thank God. You should thank your lucky stars, Tim, that you're still alive. Because
unlike some people,
we thought most of that stuff was just gonna knock you right out. Really, we didn't want to pay the pension, but it is what it is. From October 1996 until the time of McVeigh's trial in May 1997, internal defense memos reflect the Jones team's frustration with their efforts to locate and obtain the records, and ultimately their failure to do so. Almost as if McVeigh had known the records would be important later, he had on at least 3 occasions prior to the bombing requested a complete set from the Army, including his medical records, had then sent them home to his father for safekeeping and instructed him to put them in a secure location. However, after his son's arrest, when the FBI appeared at Bill McVeigh's door, he willingly relinquished the records to the FBI. Indeed, the military records...
GIF.
Yeah, God fucking damn it, Bill.
No wonder Mickey left you.
Permanent fucking cuck, this guy.
Why would the FBI lie?
Why would they? I don't understand. However, after his son's arrest, let's see, relinquish. Indeed, the military records taken from Bill McVeigh's house appear within the U.S. Attorney's receipt for materials from the FBI. However, the Jones team realized that included among those items missing from the FBI's own search warrant inventory of what they took from the McVeigh home were McVeigh's pre-Gulf War military records, which included the many doctor visits, a record of the commendations from Desert Storm, and another packet of military records undescribed. Hence, the exact nature of the shots and pills administered, the location where he received them, or the doctors and medical staff present was and remains unknown. The Jones team's search for McVeigh's records coincided with national headlines that detailed the increasing number of Gulf War veterans who had developed the unexplainable Gulf War syndrome, an illness defined by multiple, highly individualized symptoms. Unknown and unreported in the media after his arrest was that McVeigh and many men in his unit were suffering from these symptoms. Like him, their records had been confiscated, misplaced, or destroyed.
Bunch of babies.
Yeah.
And you're gonna let a little mind-altering, body-altering drugs make you all weak and pathetic looking.
It seems like how many? I'm sure that the numbers out there, like how many estimated people were affected by Gulf War syndrome. But
there's a really good episode of Coast to Coast AM with Art Bell, Joyce Randolph, Joyce somebody, and they do a whole episode on Gulf War syndrome. It's pretty good. But this is that's actually a really good insight into what people thought this was back then. But the only radio time that it could get was on a crazy person show.
Right, and now it's completely acknowledged as a totally real thing that, in fact, affected lots of veterans from that time period.
Yeah, and the guy who discovered HAARP, either him or his son, is now a House representative for Alaska.
Are you shitting me? Really?
Yeah, Nick Begich. He wrote so Nick Begich wrote the book Angels Don't Play This HAARP, and he was interviewed on Coast to Coast AM several times. And now one of the House representatives for Alaska is named Nick Begich. So I'm pretty sure it's either his son or it's he's a young guy. So yeah, it's probably his son.
Huh. That's actually fascinating.
Right.
HAARP would be a great one for this show.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah.
Although I'm not sure that there's like an authoritative.
I'll look into it. It might be that book was pretty authoritative at the time.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's also, a long time ago. Yeah. What I mean,
30 years.
It was a. It's interesting because a lot of people were talking about HARP again after
today.
What do you mean?
Because of the earthquake in
because of the
California.
tsunami. I thought that HARP was never alleged to cause earthquakes.
No. Well, the program expanded. So in the 90s, it was just the weather machine aspect,
right?
And they thought that the chemtrail sort of phenomena was a way to that using chemtrails they could use HARP to manipulate weather patterns.
Right.
But
yeah.
HARP expanded its scope in the late 90s, early 2000s. We don't know. It could cause earthquakes. I don't know.
I mean, it just seems like those would be very different things. Yeah, I mean, but people were talking about HARP after after Hurricane Helene hit North Carolina.
Yep.
And that was like a blast from the past because you could see a lot of like Zoomers who were like, "What the fuck are you guys talking about?" And all the old heads were like, "HARP, man, that takes me back." Yeah, exactly.
The last time they used that was Hurricane Katrina.
The last time they used that was, I don't know, 3 weeks ago. Yeah, exactly. The
old boomer Chad meme where it's like, yes, HARP.
HARP is a wait, it's the ancient Giga Chad.
Yeah, right? That's the one. Yeah, ancient Giga Chad.
HARP is nuts because it's a thing that was reported about widely in the regular press until the conspiracy people started being really interested in it and getting alarmed by it, and then they were like, "Oh, yeah, it's absolutely not happening." Right?
Yeah, no, HARP's a fun one. I'm gonna find a book on that. We'll do that sometime.
Yeah. Let's see. I have completely lost my place. There we go. All right. Yeah. The Jones team's search for McVeigh's records coincided with national headlines that detailed the increasing number of Gulf War veterans who had developed the unexplainable Gulf War syndrome, an illness defined by multiple highly individualized symptoms. Unknown and unreported in the media after his arrest was that McVeigh and many men in his unit were suffering from these symptoms. Like him, their records had been confiscated, misplaced, or destroyed. Soon after McVeigh's arrest, the FBI confiscated cohort Ray Barnes' Army photos and his service-related records, and in 2010, Barnes emphasized that despite promises to return them, the FBI had to do so. Yeah, it's a while.
It's not fun getting stolen from, is it, Ray?
Yeah. Well, it turns out it was everybody else's records that he had. They were like, well, this is where they went. Further, in September 1995, the FBI attempted to obtain Barnes' extensive post-Gulf medical records and ultimately issued a grand jury subpoena for them. That's weird. Barnes was not alone. The FBI confiscated and misplaced or destroyed vital military records, photos, and other service-related mementos of several men in the cohort unit. Woody Davis recalled, "Somehow the FBI got my name and immediately, after the bombing, came and took all the stuff, all the Army stuff, all my papers." Similarly, a frustrated Gordon Blackcloud said, "After bombing, FBI came and took my picture ID, social security card, medical records. I don't know why they took those. I cannot vote. They never sent them back.
Why can't he vote?
Many moons pass." Yes.
He should be able to vote.
They took his photo ID. He can't figure out how to get another one. All right. McVeigh's hidden medical narrative continued after his return from the Gulf War and discharge from the military. So too did the attempt by many Gulf War veterans to obtain answers and treatment for their strange illness, though the very existence of Gulf War syndrome continued to be dismissed by many as psychosomatic hysteria and conspiracy theory. The National Defense Authorization Act for the 1997 fiscal year, finalized in September 1996, includes regulatory protocols for medical research involving human subjects. budgetary allotments totaling $10 million for independent research regarding Gulf War syndrome, and a clause regarding a comptroller general review of healthcare of activities of Department of Defense relating to Gulf War illness. The clause dictates, among other things, that the Comptroller General would analyze the effectiveness of the DoD's medical research and clinical care programs, analyze the scope and effectiveness of DoD policies with respect to the use of investigational new drugs used during the war, the current use of investigational new drugs to treat Gulf War syndrome, and analyze the administration of medical records by the military departments in order to assess the extent to which such records accurately reflect the pre-deployment medical assessments, immunization records, informed consent releases, complaints during routine sick call, emergency room visits, visits with unit medics during the deployment, and other relevant medical information relating to Gulf War veterans.
I falsified a lot of paperwork when I was in the military. Like, you basically have to get anything done.
Do you now?
Oh, yeah, because there's way too much paperwork.
Huh.
And never for anything like of consequence, like people's health or anything like that. Luckily, I didn't work in that field, but I can imagine that kind of chicanery probably transfers over as well.
Oh, so you're saying that a bunch of random bullshit just got ginned up because
people started looking for stuff.
A 1998 report by the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee described the story of soldiers' toxic exposure, which included the preventative measures administered to counter them, as one of inaccurate records and claims of Pentagon cover-up after the fact. It illustrates issues common to many other events during the Gulf War. They just wanted to drop the bombs, guys. Just let them drop the bombs. Just let people enjoy things. I think Woodpit said earlier. In 2008, the DoD recognized Gulf War syndrome as a legitimate service-related illness, although by that time, other related concerns had arisen. 2008. Great. That same year, The Guardian reported that the dangers faced by soldiers in Iraq currently extended far beyond enemy fire or PTSD. The article described the region as among the most polluted on the planet, so toxic that merely to live, eat, and sleep, never mind to fight in these zones, is to risk death. Finally, in the early 2000s, newly returning soldiers began to report symptoms similar to their Gulf War I predecessors, the combination of which was dubbed the new Gulf War illness and the new Agent Orange. In 2012, after years of similar requests, denials, and appeals, and strong opposition from the DoD, VA, and Halliburton, Dick Cheney mentioned, the DoD agreed to create a registry to track soldiers exposed to harmful chemicals in Iraq and Afghanistan. In June 2014, the VA launched the Airborne Hazards and Open Burn Pit Registry. As it turns out, thousands of soldiers returned from Gulf War II had likely been exposed to chemicals linked to the development of respiratory illness, cancers, and neurological problems.
Burn pits are, it's literally you have to burn human excrement or other things. Not fun.
Yeah. Medical studies have recently begun to link increasing incidences of Iraqi cancers, birth defects, infant mortality, and multi-symptom toxic exposures to the same neurotoxins that affected veterans of Gulf War I, which, of course, you would expect, right? The thing about the burn pits, and I don't want to sound too much like a shit lib here, but as much hating as we have previously done on a certain Mr. Leibowitz,
John Stewart did stand. He was a stand-up guy for burn pits and for 9/11 first responders.
Yeah, and he actually really did use his platform to directly benefit people who were affected by those things.
Yeah.
So credit where it's due. He should fade into obscurity now.
Right off into the sunset.
Yeah,
Mr.
right off into the
Leawood.
sunset. But
Crazy diamond.
he does legitimately have those laurels. And we spent like 15 minutes ragging on him last time, so I think we could spend 45 seconds.
Trevor Noah never could.
Trevor Noah never did shit. Fuck that guy. Fuck that guy. My least favorite South African. Actually, no. Probably the guy who keeps singing "Kill the Boer." I probably just like that guy more.
That guy's got to be up there.
Yeah. All right. The Invisible Gulf War Spectacle. Oh, and shout out to my favorite South African, Conscious Caracol. The Invisible
Elon Musk, friend of the show.
Elongated muskrat. I mean, he's up there, but he's not my favorite. The Invisible Gulf War Spectacle. In the many narratives told by McVeigh about events throughout his life, since we're in the Invisible Gulf War Spectacle, we're out of the cold coming. Finally out of cold
we
coming.
Can warm up.
Yep. Put on your nice woolen socks and they won't get crusty anymore, fellas.
Oh.
In the many narratives told by McVeigh about the events throughout his life, corpses appear, disappear, and reappear. The last thing you want a corpse to do is reappear. You never want the corpse to reappear. First two, much less bad. A pattern best illustrated and perhaps rooted in his experience during the Gulf War, a war whose carefully constructed, spectacular primetime entertainment value qualified it as the first hyper-real, postmodern info war. Infowars mentioned.
Infowars.com.
Yes, my favorite.
You gotta get your supplements. You gotta get your T-shirt. We used to have
alkalized water.
Yeah.
Depleted uranium.
You got your COVID cures.
Making the frogs gay.
Paul Joseph Watson used to be on this show, and he's doing his own thing these days.
If I ever get doxxed, I'm going to try to work for Alex Jones. No joke.
Oh, yeah, that's the second place I'm going to apply.
Yeah, what's the first?
Passage Press.
Oh my God, no way! They don't have it. There's not enough money in the system. Alex Jones actually has a business. Well, he had a business. Who knows?
Have you been following that by chance? With the InfoWars sale and all the shit.
Yeah, they had a phony fucking auction that got reversed by a judge. Thankfully,
you can't pick whichever offer you want.
It's not a sealed bid auction, guys. You have to actually auction it. Thank God they had an actual bankruptcy trustee rather than some like inside line fucker. Well, I mean, I say that, but who knows?
Well, no, it wasn't inside. No, like his whole thing was in the bankruptcy quote unquote agreement. It was going to be okay. This is going to go to the highest bidder, but if we find a bidder that we like, the trustee can overrule it, and that's how. So the trustee was dirty as hell.
No, I thought the trustee reversed it, or was it a judge?
No, it was a judge.
Oh, the judge. Oh, so the trustee was the shitlord. Okay, interesting.
So I don't because there were apparently there were a few different patriot groups that were gonna buy Infowars and give it to Alex Jones.
I mean, honestly, the odds of there are a lot of people who could outbid that. I think that bid was stated as being extremely low.
Yeah, no, it was known for its lowness.
Yeah, it was like specifically low, not the highest they had received, and not even close to the valuation. Like if you were to look at so InfoWars is probably actually not worth that much if Alex Jones is not working on it.
Yeah,
but a reasonable value for a property, right? Like if you were to say buy The Blaze, which doesn't require really Glenn Beck's direct intervention, like that's an actual
right. Business, no, it's the Orrin McIntyre website now.
Right. So yeah. Actually, I hear the magazine's nice, Frontier Magazine, featuring work from a friend of the show, Prudentialist. I hear that's
a friend of mine.
I hear it's pretty decent. But yeah, when was the last time you were on Prudentialist channel, Hudson?
Actually, it has been a minute. I have to complain.
Well, for me it was last week. You guys can go check out the Discourse Corner. Actually, you have to be a channel member on
I haven't even been on Discourse Corner yet, and he's going through all the Tukey's guys like it's cool.
Well,
it's
multiple times. Cool. David and I have both been on twice.
This is some bullshit. I would have been the perfect wife jack guy to.
I don't know. I think David was perfect, and I am a pretty avowed wife guy myself. But yes, true Woodpit video game streams do not count. I'm not counting those. So yeah, but the way that you would value something like the Blaze or presumably InfoWars, if you could get something, if you could make it run without Alex Jones, which I would find more doubtful, you would do its EBITDA, which is earnings before interest, taxes, and debt, and then you would apply a multiplier. The minimum multiplier that you would typically do on anything, on any business, is 3 times EBITDA. So whatever it earns in a year, you pay for 3 years worth. Something like media properties never trade at a 3 multiple, right? So like the Washington Post, Washington Post was losing money when Bezos bought it, but he bought that for 150-ish million. But you would expect a media property to trade at like 5+ EBITDA,
right?
And
I keep forgetting, like you're like, I keep thinking, oh, this Cap guy, he's a fool, but he actually knows things. This is impressive.
No, I really am in business. So the something like this, like the bid allegedly from the Onion or the Onion's parent company, was sub 1 EBITDA, which is absurd. Like you would buy anything at sub 1 EBITDA, right? Like you would buy anything at less than what it makes in a year, right? Like just knowing that, you would say, yeah, sure, obviously.
I'll take that for $10.
Yeah, I'll make my money back instantaneously. Great, sounds good.
Even just reselling it.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. If you got it for that, you could immediately auction it again.
Well, and the thing is too, they tried to also sell his Twitter account with it. Like real Alex Jones was supposed to be included in it.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, he's like, they're trying to take away my 13th Amendment right and say that I'm not a person. The 13th Amendment doesn't apply to Alex Jones.
Well, I mean, it is kind of weird. Like, and it's not called the, like, okay, so if it was at InfoWars, right? You could make the argument that was a business asset, but it's his fucking name.
It's his.
So
I don't own my own name.
Yeah, but also it's valueless. Alex Jones's, like, his own name Twitter account has no value because it's just Alex Jones, right? Like, who cares if someone else is tweeting from real Alex Jones? So, yeah, this is a good point. Yeah, it would have included customer information, which not great. Not
the
really
FBI
good.
would have loved that.
Well, the FBI can fucking get that anytime they want. But the thing is that if it's just out on the open market where any asshole can get it.
Right. Antifa types and.
Yeah, you just, hey, we published the InfoWars client list. Here's everyone who's ever paid money to Alex Jones.
Oh, and then imagine opening them up to a lawsuit. It's like you enabled Alex Jones to say his horrible, terrible thing.
Yeah, how dare you? How dare you, random member of the public, have bought,
a supplement,
plausibly dodgy supplements from Alex Jones. No hate on the man for securing the bag. I realize he needs some sort of cash flow thing, but I buy my fish oil elsewhere.
Yeah, they never said what kind of fish is in that oil.
Who knows what kind of fish? Yeah. Anyhow, actually, I use krill oil.
I use cod liver oil.
Just you like the good poops. You like them good poops.
I'm bougie like that.
Treacle and brimstone and cod liver oil will make the children compliant. All right. So, anyway. The Invisible Gulf War spectacle. In the many narratives told by McVeigh about the events throughout his life, corpses. Sorry, fuck, I already did this.
Truth and Consequences, I think we're on.
Oh, we actually.
Or no. Right after Postmodern Infowar. Sorry.
Yes, there we go. That's what set me off. The mass-mediated murderous extravaganza masked its managers' surreal and brutal genocidal, ecocidal, and homicidal New World visions. I really wish that she had...
What's ecocidal?
Killing
Jamie, pull that up.
Killing ecology.
Oh, okay.
Presumably. Although mass-mediated murderous extravaganza masked its managers, and I wish that she had kept the alliteration going there, because that would have
been an impressive sentence.
That would have been very keynote. Yeah, Wendy, next time. Aberration in the Heartland of the Real 2. Give me one full alliterative sentence at the beginning of every single section.
Aberrationer.
The aberrationer, aberrationist. In the heartland of the real. It is difficult, if not impossible, to know exactly what occurred during the war, including who fired at whom, when and under whose orders Iraqis were buried with bulldozers, and how many met their death in this manner. Further, the unspeakable actions taken by McVeigh and his cohorts on the highway of death, or the details of the nightmarish visions they observed, are unknowable, as are the impact these had on them. Finally, among those things impossible to determine about the Gulf War is who exactly received the ostensibly preventative experimental shots and pills, who administered them, and when. Yeah.
Sounds like a bunch of commie gobbledygook.
Man, I mean, yeah, there's...
so this is messed up. It's like, to be real, it's so messed up. I really think it is that they thought that the casualty rates were going to be so high that they could do whatever they wanted to these guys. And when it wasn't the bloodbath they thought it was going to be, they were like, "Oh, we're in trouble. We got to start like getting rid of some of this paperwork."
To be maximally charitable here, and maybe too charitable, they knew. The DOD knew for a fucking fact that Iraq had a bunch of biological and chemical agents.
We sold them to them.
Yeah, they knew. We sold them. We knew they had them. And the fact that Gulf War syndrome happened at all strongly suggests that those things were there, had some effect. So if they had been more, I don't know, aggressively and successfully deployed, maybe those casualty estimates were
accurate. Yeah. I mean, and as Woodput points out, Iraq had the fourth largest military on Earth at the time. It was just also like not very well trained and full of people who were, too cowardly to die needlessly.
Right. Well, I mean, we're conscripts, we're not trained. They were losing really badly. So you could imagine the morale not really being able to be maintained under those circumstances. But there's, and the other side of the coin here is that, it's almost too bad that the first Gulf War was so successful, because it probably meant,
we could easily do this again.
You could imagine Dick Cheney scoring this bloodbath and chasing the tail of that fucking dragon in 2003.
We're gonna do it again.
Yeah, and thinking it would be a fucking cakewalk, because that was the messaging at the beginning of the GWAT, right? The messaging was that it was going to be a fucking cakewalk. And obviously,
and that's why that's why nobody asked questions about Iraq too. They're like, we can do that. We did it.
Yeah, it'll be fine. We did it 12 years ago or 11 years ago, and it was fine.
Quick, 30-minute adventure, Morty.
In and out, Morty. But then, we added the additional thing. If we had gone in and we obviously could have gone and blown stuff up and left. but we didn't. We hung out for 20 fucking years. So
yeah. Woodpit, you know how there's the phrase hearts and minds? Well, that's what Dick Cheney eats.
I'm running low on hearts, and I really love those bulldozers. Yes. And also the Woodpit to call out a previous
He did use them on the Kurds, yeah. Our
his own
loyal allies.
population, his own population being communist Kurdistani nationalists who were actively running an insurgency against his country, and who would have been a fucking problem had we managed to add anything. Like, Kurdistan is going to keep being an issue for that region.
No, you don't understand, Cap. Kurdistan is a desert paradise.
Full of 10 of 10 commie partisan women.
And Yazidis. Don't forget the Yazidis.
Aren't the Yazidis are Christian though?
Are they?
I thought they were.
You're probably right.
I thought they were like Maronites. I mean, they aren't Maronites, but they were, a different Christian minority. And obviously, I have more sympathy for Yazidis than I do for Christian minorities in the Middle East than I do for random communist ethnicities. But still, it's not as if our actions in that region have done any fucking favors for the Christian minorities there. So
yeah,
at all.
My favorite story.
Only worse off.
My favorite story is when Ted Cruz went to the Middle East, and he was talking to these Arab Christians about how they needed to defend Israel, and as Christians, and they're like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah. Like, what are you talking about? Oh, and in the most recent, in our current ongoing conflicts, for example, the bombing of the Gaza Strip, somehow, randomly,
every time,
randomly, it seems like all of the Palestinian Christian churches have been bombed as accidentally places where Hamas might be, even though they fucking weren't. Obviously, because they're Christian churches.
Oopsie doopsie.
Yeah, oopsie doopsie. Anyway, I'm
Do we want to stop at Truth and Consequence and do comments and super chats, or do we want to power through?
We can finish. Truth and Consequences is not going to take that long. We have half an hour left.
Sweet.
And we're going to get to part 3.
I'm just getting incensed over random Christian death.
Right. Yeah, anyway.
I don't want to start Fed posting by accident.
Right, exactly. Truth and Consequences. The opaque nature of the First Gulf War should not lessen perception of its relevancy or relationship to McVeigh's role in the bombing of the Murrah Federal Building on April 19th, 1995. Surely the traces of the Gulf War and the ghosts accompanying and perhaps driving him the morning he parked the deadly Ryder truck mentioned, next to the building and walked away, heedless of the collateral damage, should not be ignored.
I'm telling you, there was one young marketing executive who was like, "No, guys, let's use this. We can say Ryder trucking, we're the bomb," or I'm fired, aren't I?
Let's make lemonade, guys.
Come on, boys.
During his 1997 sentencing hearing, when asked if he had anything to say for himself, McVeigh, in yet one more act of appropriation, quoted a statement made by Supreme Court Justice Louis D. Brandeis, explaining his dissenting vote in the 1928 case that normalized the use of wiretaps in criminal investigations. Our government, he said, is the potent, the omnipresent teacher. For good or ill, it teaches the whole people by its example. And then McVeigh added, and that's all I have. While he prepared for his execution, McVeigh explained to his biographers that the Gulf War had left him feeling as if he had become just like the bullies he despised growing up. Worse, he had done so on behalf of his country, whose actions he came to see as the epitome of hypocrisy.
And as we all know, the worst part is
the hypocrisy. I would. There was also
hypocrisy.
the
I
killing.
thought it was the bombing.
I thought it was the
burning.
bombing and the burnings, but no, it was the hypocrisy. In 1998, McVeigh wrote a piece entitled "Essay on Hypocrisy" that he sent to media outlets. He described it as admittedly
Tim, you have to send the manifesto after the bomb, or
before.
Before.
Described it as admittedly provocative and said that it had only created further public outrage towards him. In it, he compared the Oklahoma City bombings to the U.S.'s actions in Iraq. The U.S., he said, set the standard when it comes to the stockpiling and use of weapons of mass destruction. He noted that U.S. officials had explained the presence of any daycare located inside Iraqi government buildings as an Iraqi shield. How was it then, McVeigh asked, that the one in the Murrah, a government command and control center, was any different? In fact, he continued, the U.S. acknowledged it knew about children in or near Iraqi government buildings, but bombed them nonetheless, dispensing any non-military deaths as collateral damage.
Osama bin Laden's like, man, this motherfucker's spitting.
He's spitting. He pointed out that
his, to the American people.
Bin Laden?
Yeah. It's a very, very similar theme.
Yeah, one thing he didn't mention is we did it because we hate your freedom. He didn't mention that. Yeah. How do we know? Because he fucking told us. Which is, God, I don't want to keep trying to rehabilitate Jon Stewart, but he read it, and that was his messaging during the lead up to the Iraq invasion. It's like, it's because we did all these things in the Middle East and, our constant interventions, et cetera, blowback,
and also,
guys.
He's best friends with the Bush family, but we're not supposed to talk about that. Also, Ron Paul mentioned the blowback and quoted Osama bin Laden's letter to the American people as well. Bold move. Usually you don't quote terrorists.
But you should definitely, listen to them when they're telling you what their motivations for a significant attack were, just so that you can figure out what your enemy's thinking. But it was a psyop on the American people. So
to be fair, they hate us for our freedom is a heck of a psyop.
It was no,
but just like so stupid, but it worked.
It fucking worked. It fucking worked on a lot of people.
Somebody got a promotion.
It worked on a lot of people. It worked on a lot of people who are on our side of things. Who later got disillusioned. I never believed it, I want to say. But I was a little older than you guys.
Yeah, I was a kid on 9/11. It's funny. I've always been into conspiracy theories. I still joined the military.
I know. Yeah, many such cases. Yeah, it is really unfortunate, and I encourage any young person listening not to fucking do that.
Don't do it.
Do not go die for the fucking war machine.
Just like build a old wooden ship.
Yeah, like do anything
Literally
else.
Anything else.
There are lots of ways to contribute to your nation.
Yeah, join the Old Glory Club.
Join the fucking Old Glory Club instead. Absolutely, build something of value rather than using American tax dollars and debt financing.
I know the guns and the bombs are it's all really cool.
It's definitely cool. It's definitely cool. It would never counter signal weapons.
Cool. So cool, but just don't.
Yeah. Let's see. He pointed out that although after the bombing, the public lamented over the casualties and the media ceaselessly replayed images of dead children, both had failed to afford the Iraqi civilians who died during the Gulf War the same attention and respect. Whether you wish to admit it or not, when you approve morally of the bombing of foreign targets by the U.S. military, you are approving of acts morally equivalent to the bombing in Oklahoma City. Who are the true barbarians? In a letter written to Gore Vidal in April 2001, months before his execution, not after, McVeigh explained further. Borrowing a page from U.S. foreign policy, I decided to send a message to a government that was becoming increasingly hostile. Bombing the Murrah was morally and strategically equivalent to the U.S. hitting a government building in Serbia, Iraq, or other nations. Based on observations of the policies of my own government, I view this action as an acceptable option. From this perspective, what occurred in Oklahoma City was no different than what Americans rain on the heads of others all the time. And subsequently, my mindset was and is one of clinical detachment. The bombing was not personal, no more than when Air Force, Army, Navy, or Marine personnel bomb or launch cruise missiles against foreign government installations and their personnel.
See, this makes me think that he did do it.
Well, yeah, and I mean, he obviously, I don't think anyone, I don't think any reasonable explanation of the OKC bombing says that he was uninvolved, right?
No, he was sitting on the couch. He what are you talking about? He wasn't even there.
Really? The Murrah building got exploded by Murrah. That's a funny name. Oklahoma City, never been there. Although the FBI could not place him in the city at the time. But yeah, I mean, there's little to no doubt, and I don't think any reasonable doubt that he was uninvolved. But the other things around what his support structure was, who provided material and intelligence support, etc. That is sort of the question, and something that we'll continue to delve into in further readings
in
future episodes
of the Library of Mass Destruction.
Absolutely. All right. Well, folks,
that's an episode, I think.
That's an episode. We'll start next time on part 3, the ill political anti-McVeigh post-Gulf War U.S. Army Fort Riley, and we'll go into his time in Special Forces school, and we'll see how far we get. Maybe we'll finish this section. Some may say he never left the service of the U.S. military. Yeah, this was a heavy one. Wood Pit, the Special Forces tryout, is next time. So we'll who knows? Maybe he was unsuccessful, as is the narrative, and maybe he was very successful.
Maybe he's still in the Special Forces.
Maybe he's still in the Special Forces. Wasn't ever executed. That would be a great one. So let's see here. Next episode will be not on Thursday. It will be on Tuesday, the 10th of December. And that is because there is some travel here, and we will not be having one the week of Christmas.
We're canceling Christmas. I mean,
we are
Christmas
canceling
episode.
Christmas. So that'll be what we're up to, and I will.
And you need to follow. If you're not following me on Twitter, that's where most of the episode announcements come from. Cap is a teeny tiny account, so he doesn't have any sort of reach. He needs to jump on my coattails.
That's true. The announcements do typically come from Hudson, and we will. And these are also pre-scheduled. So if you are following the Tookies Mag channel on YouTube, you will see a scheduled live stream. We typically put those up a few days ahead of time. But let it be known now that the next episode is on the 10th of December. So
we will now take the next few minutes to take your money via super chats, or if you guys just have comments, any questions, happy to answer them as best we can.
Absolutely. Although because the stream is on a delay, you probably we're not just going to sit here with dead air. So
I think my favorite emerging bit from the show that we're doing is all of the accents for the various guys.
What Black?
Well, we got Black Cloud, we got Lieutenant Rodriguez.
We're not going to hear a lot more from these guys from now on. By the way,
we got the country lawyer.
Well, we're also Stephen Jones is mostly out at this point. We're gonna start getting.
I'm sure we'll find. That's right. Dick Cheney, Alex Jones. Yeah. No, you're right, Woodpit.
That's true.
That's so far my favorite aspect of the show.
All right, gents. We will see you next time. God bless. Godspeed. See ya.
We will not walk in fear one of another. We will not be driven by fear into an age of unreason if we dig deep in our history and our doctrine, and remember that we are not descended from fearful men, not from men who feared to write, to associate, to speak, and to defend the causes that were for the moment unpopular. We must not confuse dissent with disloyalty. Good night.